Hello, I'm Marsh from StrataGames, and today we are playing some Mardu Synthesizer. I played, on my last stream, I did Synthless Boros Synth, and I figured today we should actually play some Synth. But rather than doing Boros, I wanted to give Mardu a try, because I like it a lot. I like trying new different decks, and also this list. This is a 5-0 list, a couple 5-0s from Lost on Kato, or Kato, not 100% sure, playing Temporal Intervention in the main deck. So I also just put up a video this week with Temporal Intervention in Black Sack. It was a video I recorded several weeks ago, and I didn't really love it in that deck. So I would love to find a deck where it actually does shine, and so this list has been doing well, and so I figured we'd give it a try. So, of course, Mardu Synth, we are taking the shell of Boros Synth, which is Experimental Synthesizer, Glint Hawk, and Core Skyfishers, to pick up the Synthesizer and to be able to get oodles and oodles of value. Other cards to pick up with this, rather than just the Synth, we can pick up Lembas, and which gives us just one card, but it scries us. It can also gain us life. It has a lot of utility. And then also Black Mage's Rod is one we can pick up. We can ping our opponent for a lot of damage, and then if they kill the hero, which often they will need to, in order to not take too much damage, once they've killed it, we can pick it back up and play it again, allowing us to get more heroes. So that's a fun thing to do as well. We are a Cleansing Wildfire deck, so we have several basics. We just can pretty much use as much mana as possible. With the Synthesizers being rebought, we can draw so many cards that Wildfire is a nice addition, and since one of the main reasons to play this Mardu version is to have Refurbished Familiar, which obviously then you need to have some artifact lands, so it makes sense to play the Cleansing Wildfires as well. Refurbished Familiar is another artifact we can pick up with the Skyfisher and the Glint Hawk, making it so we have 16 artifacts to pick up, which is quite a lot. A lot of the other like Relic, Cryogen Relic and decks that I play, generally around like 10 to 12 artifacts, and you can sometimes have issues with having enough artifacts on the field to actually pick up one that's giving enough value. Ideally, with 16, that won't be an issue. We also have, for removal, 4 Galvanic Blasts, since we have a bunch of artifacts everywhere, a couple Lightning Bolts, and a couple Thraben Charms for just various utility, and then the Temporal Interventions that I mentioned earlier, which ideally will just cost 1 mana every single time we use it, because we will have a permanent leave the battlefield by picking it up with a Glint Hawk or a Skyfisher, or we could sack a Lembas. We also have a 1 of Makeshift Munitions, so we could sacrifice something to that if we need to make the Temporal Intervention 1 mana. And then for our mana base, we have 8 bridges. You always want to go with red bridges when you're doing Cleansing Wildfire, so that if you have a bridge, you can cast a Cleansing Wildfire, is the idea. We have 1 of Ancient Den and a Vault of Whispers. For a little bit of extra artifact lands, these are important for Galvanic Blast, Refurb, and Makeshift Munitions. But of course, we're playing Cleansing Wildfire, so we need to have a fair number of basics, and we just have 2 of each in here. And then we also have for Shattered Landscape. These cards we know are just super powerful. They can fetch any of our colors of mana. It can also just tap for mana the turn it enters, and of course it can cycle for 3 later. So that's the main deck. Some notable exceptions to the deck. I know one reason that a lot of people like to go black, adding in the black to a Boros deck, is not just Refurbished Familiar, but Omen of the Dead, which can loop infinitely with a Core Skyfisher. That is a very good interaction. Personally, I feel like it doesn't actually play out that way most times. There's so much graveyard hate that maybe you pick up a Skyfisher, but you don't usually loop it as much as you really would think, because it's also very mana intensive. And this is just a list that I took from this player, so clearly they have not found that they needed or wanted that, which is fine. We'll see how that goes. For our sideboard, we have 4 Snuff Outs, which is pretty interesting. I'm assuming, we're not in like a Basking Brood scale meta, but there is a lot of walls going around, there's a lot of elves going around, and terror as well. So lots of decks that you want to have a cleaner answer to with Snuff Out rather than like a Galvanic Blast. Galvanic Blast sucks against terror, for example, because 4 damage is not enough. We also have a couple Tithing Blades. These, of course, we can pick up with the Skyfishers and Glint Hawks. They're not in the main deck, probably just because Tithing Blade does have a lot of bad matchups. Anything playing a Chrysalis or, Colony Garden or any just random creatures like that, Tithing Blade is not the most effective against. So we have him in the sideboard to bring him in against those Terror and other various matchups like that. We have 4 Red Elemental / Pyroblast effects, 2 Relics of Progenitus for our Graveyard Hate, and then 3 Navigator's Compass, and we know that Compass is a really strong way to gain a whole bunch of life because we can buff it. We can repeatedly cast it with the Skyfisher and the Glint Hawk, pick it back up, gain 3 life for every time we cast it. So that is the list, And I'm pretty excited. So let's jump into a match and see how we do. A whole league, rather, not just one match. Not standard. Thank you very much. Mardu Synth, lost on Kato. I've played, a decent amount of Boros and Mardu Synth. Not the most, necessarily. But of course, we play a lot of Cryogen Relic decks, Orzhov Glintblade, and things like that. So some of the general ideas should be the same. League match is now started. No longer a confirmation to join. Okay, good to know. My cat is being loud in the background. I'm going to try to fix that real quick. All right, we're in a match, and ideally the sound won't be too bad anymore. We have to adjust everything here because I was actually doing some early access for the Spider-Man / Through the Omen Paths cards last night, so I had to install the beta for that. So if you are interested in seeing me play with some of those cards, that will be up on Sunday. This hand doesn't have red and doesn't have a bridge for our Wildfire, but it has a Lembas, it has a Black Mage's Rod we can cast, two mana and 2 of our colors, so I don't think this is a mulligan by any means. So let's play a Swamp, and we will pass. And White Weenie looks like. Potentially, we get an intervention. So I could just Black Mage's Rod here, which makes it so we can ping off the Lembas. We do want to draw another land. It also lets us trade. We'll play the Lembas next turn if we don't get anything anyway. So I think we just go with the Rod. Trying to see the downside to playing the Lembas next turn. We still see just as many cards to try to find our land, so I'm not exactly sure. They Lembas. Okay, so it actually is more likely to be Boros or Orzhov Glintblade, or I guess even Esper. But double white makes me think it's probably just 2 colors. Another Lembas is the downside, I suppose, because we could have played one Lembas, and if we didn't find a land, we could play another one. Synth, not what we need right now. Ancient Den, at least it's a land, even if it's not the red one that we want. We're just going to pass here, and they're cracking a clue, so it looks like they're looking for lands too, is my assumption. Another Inspector. I guess it could be mono white with Lembas, but the fact that they cracked the clue right there makes me think they probably were looking for like a red land. Galvanic Blast. Well, we're still looking for lands. I'll do it this way so that I can intervention. I mean, I'm not going to be able to unless I attack, and I don't want to do that. But if I find a refurb, I guess I could play that. So let's just cast this Glint Hawk. I guess we can't cast a Glint Hawk if we do it this way. And I kind of want a Glint Hawk. That was kind of a bad tap. No dual lands here is making the mana worse, for sure. They're going a little slow. I mean, Glint Hawk seems good. It blocks these. I could attack, and then I could get an intervention off if they block. I guess that's not the worst. I don't really need this guy sitting around. I can always pick up the Black Mage's Rod if I want. Plus next turn it looks like I'm going to play Glint Hawk Lembas. If they don't block, that's fine. But if they do, all right, we get to end intervention. Not the best thing ever. I'm guessing Boros. Okay, I was wrong. Orzhov. Tithing Blade, they're looking very white. 2 Thraben Charms, Novice Inspector. It's got to be this Guardian, because I don't actually have a way to kill the Guardian in the main deck, because my Tithing Blades are in the sideboard. So Guardian comes down, I could have some real problems, and everything else isn't that scary. So they'd have to hit a land to get the Guardian down here, but if they do, then I'm pretty happy we got that intervention off. They top deck a Glint Hawk. I'm assuming just Orzhov Glintblade, but they've seen no black sources and only 1 black card, so it feels like, and Guardian is an interesting include, so very white. Heavy, it looks like. Play their Inspector. They do find a land, so we know their last 3 cards. All right, we find red, which is nice. I Glint Hawk Lembas. They're going to Thraben Charm my Glint Hawk, attack for 4. That's probably fine, but I could just Glint Hawk, shoot their Glint Hawk so we take less damage. That's probably better, because then I can just play Lembas next turn, and if they're going on the offensive, I'd rather not take as much damage, so I think this is good. Citadel Gate. Okay, I was thinking it could also be Gates, so okay, I actually think this might be another Glint Hawk. Now this actually looks like it's probably Esper Cryo Gates, which is a deck that Kerblinski played a video with this week, or Sunday, I think. And I actually have a video going up in about 30 minutes playing it. It does have a lot of, it has all these cards in it. It has Guardian, a bunch of planes, Glint Hawks, and all this stuff, but I just did not expect it with 4 planes on board. Mardu Gaming, happy Friday. Yeah, I love Mardu. It is my favorite 3-color combination, bar none. All right, they don't have Thraben Charm up, and we know that their 4 cards are these, and what's the last card? Lembas that they just picked up. Okay, so I probably want a Cleansing Wildfire here just to get some more mana, and then I can Skyfisher as another blocker. If they want to double Thraben Charm, that's fine. Yeah, let's do that, though. Why not Gates everything? I mean, Gates are pretty good. They do slow things down a little bit, but there's a lot of benefit to them. Another Black Mage's Rod. Probably just want to... I guess I kind of want to hold Skyfisher because we haven't seen a Synth yet. Well, I bottomed one Synth. So I guess I'll do Black Mage's Rod here. Still have 2 creatures that I can trade one of these off if I really need. They have the Tithing Blade, right? Yeah, we'll get rid of the hero. I want to try the Gates deck in the evening. You should definitely give it a try. It's pretty interesting. I didn't necessarily have the best results with it because the mana's a little funky because you want 3 colors, but you also have colorless Gates with the Basilisk Gate and blue, and you want a lot of blue for Cryogen Relics because you can replay them, and you want a lot of black for some other cards. So mana's a little tough, but otherwise I think it's really cool. They attack. Kind of weird they wouldn't just shoot this with the Thraben Charms. What are they holding them for? I mean, Makeshift is never coming down while they have double Thraben Charm. I'm fine with this block, though, I think. How many Heap Gate were you running? None. I believe the deck was running none because it was running 4 Citadel, 4 Black Dragon, 4 Basilisk, an Orzhov Guildgate, a Basilica, a Bojuka Bog, and a bunch of Plains, I think. So yeah, no Heap Gate might have been part of the issue, for sure. Hello, Ben. How's it going? Okay, yeah, 2 Thraben Charms, so Makeshift is not coming down. I guess we're just Sky Fishing with a Lembas. I could just play this Lembas, so I guess I could do a Black Mage's Rod, but I'd rather just get more card draw, I think. I will keep a land. More land is good for Synth, plus it allows me to play another Skyfisher, although Synth is better if I keep the Skyfisher. They're not really pressuring us. Let's just throw out another Lembas. I remembered to update the deck list this time, so you should have the proper deck list there. They Thraben Charm the Skyfisher. Glint Hawk is great, and they got 2 cards. One's a Thraben Charm plus a Clue. Flip a Tithing Blade. Like, we're not under a lot of pressure, although obviously Basilisk Gate can make it. So, ooh, another Basilisk Gate. I mean, only 3 gates, but they could just throw all of that on an Inspector right now, and I'm tapped out. So you're obviously more experienced in Pauper than me, so I defer to your expertise, but I feel like 1 Heap Gate might help the fixing. Yeah, I mean, I'm not the most experienced gate player by any means. I think you might be right with that. I just ripped a list, so I didn't build the list. So, you know, I'm taking no fault at all. But you might be right, but also it's very expensive to use Heap Gate. So it's great in those really late games, like Coggates or Fog or anything like that. This deck's trying to be a little more mid-range, so you don't necessarily have the option to use it that much. But I don't disagree that it's not a bad idea. It could be pretty decent. I guess we will Glint Hawk so that that's the one that dies to a Thraben Charm. We're going to hold up a Galvanic. I guess I might just want creatures to block here, so I could pick up Black Mage's Rod, because gates are scary at this point. Yeah, I guess let's just throw out 3 creatures so we have blockers. Pick up a Lembas here, and then we'll Black Mage's Rod, and we can hold up a Galvanic for the first when they try to pump. Why is this mana not working? It should just automatically go. Hey, first time tuning in to the Twitch stream. Big fan of your YouTube channel. Your Esper list was killing it last week. I went 4-0 at my locals. Hell yes. I've been loving the list. I've been working on it a lot. I've been playing it at my locals, and it's been doing very well. I've gotten... I think I did a 4-0. I did a couple 3-0s. It's been really, really good. And I'm just loving it. So I'm glad you're doing well with it too. Pick up the Tithing Blade. That's just going to eat the hero token. Fair enough. I guess weighing the speed, it may not be worth doubling down on fixing. That's why Pauper's great. You can build a ton of stuff for sure. Yeah, I mean, gates generally are going to push you in a slower direction. The question is, how slow do you want to go? Because this is more of a mid-range deck, not like a control deck. I think a 1 of Heapgate would be a good, definitely something worth trying. Just not sure if it'll be the solution to all the problems, but that's okay. Landscape. I mean, we have a fair amount of removal. We still have not seen a Synth, except for the one we bottomed. But we have 4, you know, we should see another one. Lembas, we're not putting away a Skyfisher. More removal would be good, though, so that if they go in on one of these, we can deal with it. As soon as they use the Thraben Charm, I can get a Munitions down, which can be removal for pretty much everything. But at the moment, I can't do that very effectively. Play a Lembas. There's a Galvanic. Although I left it so that my mana, I can't play a Skyfisher and Galvanic. I probably want as much mana as possible, so let's play this Landscape. Hold up Blast, and I guess I can crack a Lembas here. It's amazing. On your recent 5-0 on Magical Online with it. Will there be a video as well? There's not a video, unfortunately, of that 5-0. I was just, you know, playing casually in the late hours of the night, so I didn't record it, and unfortunately, the replays on Magic Online have been gone for the last, like, 9 months. So yeah, so there's not going to be a video on that. There will be plenty more videos playing the deck though, and ideally some more trophies. I don't really want to chump here with both of these because I can throw Skyfisher. If I put another Skyfisher out, then I can triple block. I think we'll just take it and I can crack Olympus, which offsets most of the damage. And then Raven's Crime. Ben, look what you've done. You made me start playing Raven's Crime, which made everybody else start playing Raven's Crime. Okay, they are tapped out, so I can actually use Makeshift this turn, even if they can blow it up with Thraben. I can blow up both of their 2 creatures. So I guess we're discarding Skyfisher. It's time for crime. I mean, I love it. I just don't love it when it happens to me. I've been telling others to use it. Stop telling everyone, please. No, I'm just kidding. It's great. Okay, so yeah, I can munitions, hold up bolt. I can shoot both of these. Surprised it's not in this list that I'm playing. Not every deck that has black can play a Raven's Cry. The big reason it can't be in this deck is Synthesizer puts cards into exile, not into hand. So it's not going to be the most effective here. It's basically him to Torak. Yeah, exactly. Ban Raven's Crime, please. Let's not tap our only black mana. But yeah, I'm just going to munitions here and ping off some of these guys, I guess. I guess I could just bolt because I kind of want to keep some of these around, right? Although munitions is going to get destroyed probably, so I'd rather have used it as much as possible. So let's throw a Lembas. I don't miss 1 Lembas here. I can throw 1 Black Mage's Rod. I don't really want to get rid of both. 3 Temporal Interventions. Yeah, we got Temporal Interventions. What's wrong with that? All right, so I guess I'll throw 1 land, and I want to keep one of these. Black Mage's Rod does more damage. Lembas is better if we get another creature. I think we'll throw the Lembas, and I shouldn't need to have this lightning bolt up, so I guess we'll just use our landscape. Although I've already used 4 basics, so if we get a wildfire, I'll want to use it on them. Not going to forget to use it on my opponents when they're playing a lands deck. Not again. Crack a clue. Couldn't fit 1 crime in there. I mean, my point is that you could put it there, but with Synthesizer throwing lands to exile, we're not as likely to have as many in our hand to actually use. Cryogen is great because it puts them in our hand and then we can get rid of them that way. But I don't think it would be the best in this deck. We'll get another Swamp. Just a Dross Forge. Well, we'll equip this. I'll hold the bridge in case they crime us. Okay, cast down. Fair enough. I could hold the bridge or I could just play it, and if they crime us, I can bolt them. But I'd rather save the bolt for a creature, so I think we'll just pass here. I probably should have equipped there. Been out here advocating for criminal action. Yeah, come on. We can't do this. This is a public space. Skyfisher is going to pick up Tithing Blade probably. Yeah, kill our guy. It was the Raven. The Raven made me do it. Okay, Edgar Allan Poe. We all believe you. Crack a clue. And yeah, if I get a synth and have a chain, I might want to use all this mana, so I guess we'll just take this out now. Or we'll just play get a bunch of tap lands here. Have I really taken this 7 more minutes than them? That's crazy. I guess I've been talking too much. Another Skyfisher. They're drawing way better than we are, which is problematic. Refurb is okay. I mean, they'll have probably cards to discard that don't really matter too much. Plus then Gate, if they have removal for this, that should just be lethal. Get rid of a cast down. We will equip, play a bridge. They know we're out of cards. And probably another cast down. No, just crack a clue. Buff up the Inspector and the Skyfisher, which is lethal, so we have to block. And another Inspector. Glint Hawk, pick this up. I think we're dead. I could try for the double block here, but that seems unlikely to work. I think we should have a decent matchup here because we have the Wildfires. We just did not draw amazingly. Tithing Blades are decent here. They don't have the most creatures, and just being able to fight over their creatures a lot is good, I think. Snuff Out's not necessary, though. I don't think any of the rest of this is. Temporal Intervention is decent. Oh, also Tithing Blade for the Guardian, if they get that down, is good to have in the main deck. Thraben Charm. It's mostly just removal. They don't really have any enchantments or graveyard stuff that matters. Actually, they'll probably have an Omen of the Dead if they're running the same list that we were. So, I mean, maybe a couple Black Mage's Rods. I didn't really care for those in that game. Let's be on the play here. 1 lander. Otherwise, so many good cards, but I think we have to ship that. I guess I could have gotten greedy because we had synths to look for stuff, but this deck has a lot of 3-drop and 4-drops with the refurbs and the temporal interventions that, like, I could just waste a lot of cards early that I can't actually play until later. So I'd rather not let that happen. Play a bridge and pass. They have a gate, and just get a Lembas down. Don't need another land at this point, I don't think. I mean, we'll need more lands in a bit, but right now I think I want some action. Spectre and a Basilica. Galvanic. This will find us black. So I guess I just want to put down a Limbus. Don't really need another one. This is more mana efficient. Excuse me, then playing Glint Hawk. I would have to Galvanic Blast this turn, which I don't really want to. And this also gives us our 3 artifacts for the refurb for next turn. Although without a second black mana, I actually can't play and replay it in the same turn. Oh, well, there's their second black mana. Although I might still just prefer to go for a Limbus here, but we'll see. Maybe they'll cast it down or something. I guess I kind of like taking a card from them. We get better selection, obviously. We get to draw with the Limbus, but this is 1 less mana, so we also can hold up Galvanic Blast, which could be good if they play like a Skyfisher or something to block us here. They get rid of a Bajuka Bog. There's a Basilisk Gate. Grim Bauble takes out the Refurb. There's the Skyfisher, which is going to take out the Glint Hawk. Pretty annoying. I'll just kill the Skyfisher here. Maybe I should just do the Inspector because I'll probably want to kill both of them since they have the gate. Ooh, but then again, I could blow up their Basilisk Gate, but I gotta just take out or rather, I could take out their Basilica, not their Basilisk, which cuts them off more mana, but I might as well just do this. Ooh, and we get another Wildfire. I didn't play the Black Mage's Rod first because I wanted to see what I drew, but because I drew something I didn't play, I did waste a damage there technically, but it's fine. I'll probably hold this Cleansing Wildfire for another Basilisk Gate because that is the scariest thing they can have. Otherwise, their Inspectors are pretty irrelevant. They don't attack. We get a refurb. So yeah, I mean, it's a little wasteful of mana, but I think we're just passing here. I could blow up their Basilica, but I'm just not as worried about that as a gate. Not these gates though. The Basilisk Gate. Dust to Dust on a refurb and Black Mage's Rod. I could shoot the Inspector in response here. I think it's fine. A little annoying. Not the end of the world though. They get to attack for 1. We get a Tithing Blade. I mean, fair enough. Kills a creature. Attack. If you get rid of the gates, they're just a bad Tithing Blade deck. Yeah, exactly. Quite scary when they have Inspectors and things, and they have a Basilisk Gate, but without the gate, it's like they have a bunch of 1/2s that, yeah, it draws them a card, but I'm not too worried about that. So it does take a lot of control to not just send a Wildfire off on our own thing or the Basilica, but I do think it's best to just do it this way. I guess we'd like to keep their creature count low, so I'll just do this because I can get in for 1 here, which I might as well. I could have used the Galvanic Blast, which is obviously dealing more now, but if they get another Dust to Dust, it'll be dealing less. So, and then couldn't get a Skyfisher, so I maybe should have used it, but did not end up doing that. They crack their Clue token, and they have a Limbus. I could use a second red, so it's possible I really should just Wildfire my own thing here at some point. Galvanic Blasts to make that point more abundantly clear, but we're just going to pass. Hold up the Galvanic Blast, so if they do get a gate here, a Basilisk Gate, I could shoot the one they target in response. And if not, we'll just take out the Glint Hawk. No big deal. Limbus again. Still feels like they're doing better than we are. Better Glint Hawk deck. There's a Skyfisher. Pick up the Limbus and replay it. We get a bridge. Well, I'm going to Galvanic this while there's no way they can take out any of our artifacts, just on the off chance they have something instant speed. And I guess I could flip a Tithing Blade next turn if nothing else. They crack a Clue, get a Plains, swing for 1. Get a Temporal Intervention. Well, I don't know what they have in hand at the moment, but I think it's reasonable to just try to take something away. A couple cast downs, fair enough. They don't want to use that on our 1/1, kind of weird. They crack their Grim Bauble to Surveil, and puts cast down into the graveyard, 1 on top, and they get a Cryogen. Good for them. Swing for 2. We finally get a Synth. We will cast it into a Drawsforge Bridge. Well, I guess we'll play that. I'm going to leave the hero back. I could attack for 1, but it doesn't really matter that much. And if they get a Basilisk Gate, I'd like to block the first time it's used and then be able to blow it up without taking an extra, 5 damage for no reason. But they have Glint Hawks now with the Cryogen. Now I'm just jealous that they get to Cryogen and we don't. It's not fair. And there's the Guardian of the Guild Pact. We do have Tithing Blades in our deck, 1 right here, but unfortunately we're not going to be able to really get through them very well. And there's the Temporal Intervention. Yeah, I think we're just going to lose. I guess Hero is colorless. It can actually block the Guardian, but I don't think there's any way we can pump it up, deal extra damage. Let's crack a Synth. I wanted to keep it around for a Glint Hawk or whatever, but let's just go over here. It's another land. We will Intervention them. They cast down in response. We get a Thraben Charm, play a bridge, and pass. Looks like we're going to lose this one, unfortunately. They're just drawing a million cards, and we are not. They're 8, now 9 cards deeper than we are. and I guess we'll take it. And this Cleansing Wildfire just rotting in our hand the entire time. As soon as I use it, though, they're going to find the gate. They crack a Cryogen Relic, tapping their own Inspector. I don't think they realized they didn't have to tap, but trying to keep their Thraben Charm around. Yeah, I guess we'll just use this now because we're pretty desperate. I could use it on their Basilica, but at this point, the mana doesn't really matter. Lembas, another Lembas. I guess keeps us alive. Sure, we'll keep that, but we'll just crack a Lembas here. Another Tithing Blade. We'll get rid of the hero. If they now have the gate to pump up the Guardian, they just have another Tithing Blade. Well, we'll crack a Lembas. We're going to take 6 here and flip a Tithing Blade. Yep, we're at 5. Now we get a Tithing Blade. If we had like a Breath Weapon, there were no board wipes in our sideboard though, right? Yeah, just Snuff Outs. Feels like we could use a board wipe, because if I have like an Arms of Hadar here and then a Tithing Blade, I realize that's like, oh, if in this exact situation I had a different deck, it'd be better, but that's what are you gonna do? Cycle this, Thraben Charm. We're taking 7, so I guess we're not technically dead if we want to crack a Lembas. Oh, we are with the Sepulcher, actually. Never mind. All right, felt like we should have had a decent match there with the Cleansing Wildfires and such, but did not work in our favor. But that's all right. We'll see how the next match goes. All right, we're on the draw. This hand is okay. Not the best thing ever. We can get Rod on turn 2 and turn 3, plus a Glint Hawk if we want to pick one up, but that doesn't make a lot of sense. That's just 2 mana for a 1/1. But yeah, we have decent mana, decent playables. We're going to keep this one. Play a Bridge. Skyfisher's always a good draw. Almost always. Augur Bolas. So Dimir Fairies is my guess. Whiff on the Bolas. Classic. Just play a Black Mage's Rod. Next turn, I can maybe Lembas and Glint Hawk to use our mana rather than the Black Mage's Rod and Glint Hawk. They decide not to foil. Probably for the best. They do get to attack. I'm not going to block. If they have a Ninja, that's fine. I have a lot of Ninja blockers. And the Augur didn't even get him a card the first time, so they've spent 4 mana to draw 1 card here. Not too upset about that. Island and pass. Another Black Mage's Rod. I think it probably is just Lembas and Glint Hawk, but the quicker we get down more rods, the quicker we can just ping for 1,000,000, which could be cool. But if I want to do that, I also want to keep the heroes around. So I'm getting down to Glint Hawk allows me to trade that for the Ninja. Although then I don't have a flyer for like a Spell Stutter. I don't know. We'll see how I'm feeling. Bolt is good. Bolt's really good with the Black Mage's Rods. And it's just good interaction. Yeah, I guess we keep that. It's a little tight because we only have 1 black or red mana. Why not Lembas in Familiars? You mean like Lembas and then cast Familiar? Yeah, I could do that too. That probably would be better because I would be using a black mana when I'm pinched on black. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, actually that probably would have been a little bit better. I think you're right. I think I was just tunneling a little bit on the Glint Hawk for really no reason. So I think that probably would have been the better play. As much as I don't really want to lose the hero, I don't really want the Ninja to get in. So if I attack and they snuff this out, probably should just leave this back to block. Yeah, I mean, the Refurb obviously has less toughness, so in a situation where I'm trying to block like a Spell Stutter Sprite or Fairy Seer, it would be better to have the Glint Hawk, but I wasn't trying to do that because there was no Spell Stutter coming down there, and they trade off just as well with the Ninja. It's also cheaper, so next turn, if this was still alive, I could go Glint Hawk, Refurb, and like crack our landscape, and as I said, it uses our black mana when we're pinched on that, so I think you're definitely right, I should have done that, and I just missed it. They go for a Brainstorm, and then they contemplate their life decisions. And Suffocating Fumes. Okay, I was a little worried about that because I was talking about like triple Black Mage's Rod. They do it now so that they wipe the blocker, and then if I want to chump with my Glint Hawk, I can, but they get a card, or they eat my guy, or they get a card here, which I think I'll just let him damage. No worries, Mardu Synth is a hard deck to play, but pretty rewarding. Yeah, absolutely. Lot of intricate lines. That was a line that it was not the most intricate, and I could have seen it. But yes, there's a lot of stuff going on for sure. The Swamp makes this a lot easier because now I can like double Refurb or double Black Mage's Rod. I can Refurb Skyfisher Refurb, take 2 of their cards, then I have a bunch of blockers for the Ninja. That feels pretty good. I'm also not using up any of our spells, so I can still get down like 2 Black Mage's Rods and I haven't wasted any damage from them. It's probably the best here. Oh, well, that was the problem. That was another thing I was going to mention is that Refurb, I did have 3 artifacts, which is why I could have done it last turn, but I picked up the Lembas, so now actually it's more expensive, so I can't double Refurb, which is annoying. Okay, in that case, I can Black Mage's Rod, Refurb, and then crack my landscape, or I could just double Black Mage's Rod. They use their 1 of Suffocating. I'm assuming it's a 1 of Suffocating Fumes because it almost always is, which means I can be a little more confident in playing a couple rods here. But I also kind of want to, if I'm trying to deal him damage with the rods, I want to attack with this Glint Hawk, and I don't want to block with a hero token. So I guess I will refurb. Like if we can get 3 rods on the board active and then I can like bolt them, that's a ton of damage. Of course, if we do lose, if we trade with the refurb, I can't buy it back with the Skyfisher next turn, so I'm losing a little value there, but that's okay. They snuff out the Glinthawk. Fair enough. Not the end of the world for me. Still dealt them a lot of damage there. There's the Augur we know about. And did Augur whiff again? Yes, it did. Augur is the best at looking at the bottom 3 cards of your deck. So inherently the refurb has more value, but having to pay 3 more mana for the Black Mage's Rod is not really where you want to be at. I think I'm going to trade the refurb off. There's a Gurmag. Okay. Crack this for red? Probably red, because if I get a Synth, I'll want to use it and then also have access to red in case I turn something else up. So 2 red's pretty important. Of course, for a Synth deck, we have not seen a lot of Synths in these games. It's crazy that the full rules text of Augur says, look at the top 3 lands of your library. Cry. Yeah, it's pretty weird that they put that on a card. I'm holding that hope for a better Augur of Bolas, because I love fairies, but Augur's kind of necessary because you just need more guys that your ninja can pick up, but it's so bad. I played Dimir Fairies like a week or 2 ago on stream, put up the VOD, and then someone commented on the video that I never set up my Augurs. I never brainstormed or like scried to make sure that they hit, which is true, and that's why I whiffed on them a lot. But with a deck that's like 33 cards spells, it probably shouldn't whiff as often as it does, you know? It just feels like it whiffs a lot. All right, I probably play another Black Mage's Rod for more damage here. I only have 2 cards in hand, so I could like Skyfisher, pick up a mountain, have a Bolt available. Bolt doesn't do anything on this board really. Like I could kill an Augur, but that doesn't matter. I think I'd rather just Cleansing Wildfire for the extra mana, right? So like do this first. Wildfire, we hit them down to 12, and then if they attack us with like Gurmag and just leave an Augur, I can like bolt to that, get in for a bunch maybe. Now we'll grab a white, so we have 2 of everything. We'll pass. If they can't kill these hero tokens, we're looking at 6 damage in hand, even if everything gets countered. Excuse me. They do attack with both. If they've got the ninja for the Augur, that's fine. Augur again is not doing anything relevant. Obviously drawing a card with the ninja is good, but it's a lot better when the card you're picking up is effective too. All right, can we go 3 for 3? Aww, they hit something finally, and it was a counter spell. Pretty good. All right, Synth is good. What are the chances Synth gets countered? Pretty high, I think. But then that still puts him to 10. I can bolt the Augur, they go to 8. I can attack for 4, they go to 4, and I can like Lembas, they go to 2. Then they'll get in for 9 here, but they shouldn't be able to kill me. If I cast anything, I should win. Well, we'll see if they counter this. I could see an argument either way. Yeah, it's not a bad hit for sure. So then oh, wait. I can bolt them for 5. They go to 5. I can Thraben Charm the Augur, and then I can get in for lethal. All right, that'll work. In fact, I can also Skyfisher. This is unnecessary to winning, but like just to play properly here, since I don't do that so often. I can pick up a land, so I also have a blocker for the ninja, paying for 2, and then I get in for 4. Look at that. I won a game by playing well for once. Playing well is not my strong suit. All right, we get Pyroblasts. Tithing Blade is not terrible against them because they don't have the most creatures. Assuming they have a pretty standard list, it's going to be like 16-ish creatures, most of which are pretty important. Even like an Augur is good for the ninjas, so being able to Tithing Blade, that's not bad. Relic of Progenitus is probably pretty useless against them. 1 or 2 Gurmags is probably the only graveyard hate that graveyard cards they have that matter. Snuff Out is good against a Spell Stutter and Murmuring Mystic and Ninja. Obviously, it doesn't do anything against Gurmag, but I think Pyroblasts hits all those things better, so I don't think we need that as much. Makeshift is decent in the late game, and it can make Spell Stutters irrelevant, but otherwise it's kind of mediocre. Bolts are good. Black Mage's Rods were good there. Thraben Charm. Graveyard doesn't matter. Enchantments don't matter, so this is basically a bad cast down. I think we can cut those. Temporal Intervention. I kind of like some hand attack. Yeah, this deck does feel like it's missing some board wipes. Krarks or like Arms of Hadar in the sideboard. Arms of Hadar is really expensive for Synth, so maybe that's why. Maybe just Krarks would be the choice then, but anyway. Life gain isn't as relevant. Black Mage's Rod was good there. We cut a couple of those. I don't really want to get rid of bolts or anything. I guess we'll try it like that. Well, we finally have the Synth opener. It's honestly a little awkward because we don't have white until we crack this, and we kind of want more than just a couple lands, but I don't think we're throwing this back ever. And also intervention is expensive at the moment. Oh, I can actually intervention on turn 2. Plains is really good draw. Okay, so I can actually, this is kind of cool. Or no, this is non-land, isn't it? Dang it. I was going to say I can crack this fetch land and then get Temporal Intervention off, but it's if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn. So never mind. They have a Fairy Seer. Definitely makes me want to get a Glint Hawk down, but the only way to do that would be to Synth, which is kind of a waste. I guess I'd rather just like draw Bolt here and get rid of this. Both to the top. There's a bridge. Okay. Well, they can get in with a Ninja. I'm not going to Synth Glint Hawk just to get a Glint Hawk down when they could probably just snuff it out. Whereas next turn I can Synth, see what I get, maybe Glint Hawk that, you know, a lot more value. Blue Blast main board in your area. Who's playing Blue Blast main board? That's crazy. Mukotai Ambusher. That's an interesting one. Feels like that might be a sideboard card, but we don't really care about the lifelink. We also get a Wildfire, so I don't have to Synth this turn. I could just Wildfire, but then we're not getting a blocker for this, which is a 3/2 lifelink. It's not really that big of a deal. Cannot speak. I can play almost anything off the Synth. If I turn up like an intervention, oh, I can use it actually. If I turn up an intervention, I can then Glint Hawk back the Synth, and then I can intervention. I think we're gonna go for a Synth. I think we have that we can play almost anything we get off of it. Lembus, I can play that. This does let him get another hit in with this, but that's not the end of the world. We'll get some blockers down for next turn, and Refurb is pretty good. We'll keep that for sure. Also meant Red Blast. No worries. I'm joshing. You know, Red Blast, Blue Blast, they're all the same. I'm waiting for that White Blast and Black Blast and Green Blast. It's been so long. We need those at some point. We need more of the best sideboard cards in the entire format. All right, they play a Seer. They whiff on their land. They have Spellstutter up, which means Glint Hawk is not great, but they can't do anything about Refurb. Probably. Discard a card, and it's a Fangs. Okay. I want a Glint Hawk, but I don't want to walk into a Spellstutter. I don't have to. I think I could just play a Bridge and pass here. We can hold up like Intervention, or next turn we can play Intervention to try to make sure the way is clear. Brainstorm. Gonna get Green Blasted after work tonight. Nice. That's a good way to relax, you know. They're swinging with both, so I could block the Ambusher. They could have another Fangs. I'm really not that worried if they do that to like keep their guy alive. I could block the Fairy Seer, which is probably the better one to ninjutsu if they have like a Ninja the Deep Hours or something. But I think I'm fine if they want to do that. Then they only have Spellstutter for 1. Also keeping this around to Glint Hawk is good, but we also have Synths to Glint Hawk, so I think I'm fine with this trade. There's a Gurmag, and they tap out a Spellstutter, so I don't have to worry about that. Okay, Black Mage's Rod. All right, so we're starting with Glint Hawk, picking up the Synth. This makes it so our intervention is 1 mana. Okay, replaying Synth could be risky. I don't have to replay Synth. I could just do Black Mage's Rod plus this Bridge plus Temporal Intervention. That feels decent. Rod into discard. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I like the look of that. I don't mind chump blocking with this guy until we can take out the Angler. Then we should see what's up. There is a Spellstutter and a Cast Down. Yeah, it's just Spellstutter. Cast Down doesn't really matter too much. Play a Bridge and pass. Main thing is we got to find a way to kill this Gurmag Angler, because I did take out the Thraben Charms, which are the way that we can deal more damage. They got a Lorien Revealed off the top. That's pretty good for them. Pretty lucky draw. So I could just take it so that we can try for a triple block next turn, but they have a Cast Down to make the triple block bad, so I need like a quad block. But yeah, I think I'd probably wait. I can also deal a little bit of damage. I'm not super worried about them being able to like deal us direct damage, so I think we just do this. Skyfisher's good. So we'll start with a Synth into another Rod. Okay, so I'd probably Glint Hawk then, in case I get like another 2-drop. Glint Hawk, Synth. Should be able to play anything I get still, I think. Yeah, Skyfisher's good. So then we'll get down the Black Mage's Rod and a Skyfisher, pick up the Lembus. Well, we can go for the quintuple block, and they would need 3 Cast Downs to make it bad, or Snuff Outs. I think we probably just throw everything in front of it. I mean, they still get to trade this for 3 of these, which is pretty good. I guess if they just have like a Arms of Hadar, that's really bad, but looks like hopefully not. Augur finds a counterspell. Ooh. Augur's been working out, putting in the hours. We have no other great way to kill this, so I think, as painful as it is, we just throw everything in front of it. If I only put 3 or 4 things in front of it, and they have a Cast Down and a Snuff Out, then it's pretty bad. This way they have to have 2 Snuff Outs, which would be very unlikely, I think. And we have a lot more value than them, so as long as we can just not die, we should have a good shot, I think. They do Cast Down. the Skyfisher. Don't tell me you got the double snuff out. No. Okay. We're left with a hero token. And they have counterspell up. Okay. We have 2 synths. So I'm just going to run out of synth. If they want to counter that, then I can just play another one. That's fine. Pyroblast. Well, that makes it so their counterspell is useless, which is nice. So let's play a Skyfisher, pick up the synth, Cleansing Wildfire. We'll use that. And then since they're probably not going to counterspell anything because of the pyro, I can just use it to try to like blow up the Fairy Seer or something at the end step. We'll get a black here. We get a mountain. I don't think we need that. I think we'll just pyro the Fairy Seer's the flyer. So I think that's probably the better one to go for. If they want to counter this, that's fine. I guess if they have a spell stutter, it wouldn't be a bad one to counter. But if they have if they just use actual counterspell, that seems a little unnecessary. Play that and we'll pass. There's another Seer, 1 to the top, and they pass. Skyfisher's a good draw. See if they want to do anything about the synth this time. Blue Blast. Okay, so if I do another synth, they can counterspell it. So I guess we'll just do Alembus. Can also gain us some life, which is not too bad here. I mean, Wildfires seem good, right? We'll use one of those. Pings them for damage, draws us cards, and ramps us. It's funny, they've resolved Lorien, but we have more cards in hand than them. Yeah, I mean, that's the power of Synth. They had 1 good burst card draw spell with a draw 3, but we've had just a value engine going that they cannot deal with. I mean, I've had more cards in hand than my opponent when they have like, I'm not going to cast a Skyfisher now because it just gets counterspelled. Like against an opponent, I had a really close match. I did end up losing, but it was against Golgari Gardens, and they had Monarch for like 8 turns. They were able to just kill I think this was probably in a video that I put up. I can't remember. It might have been the Cryo Gates from today. That's not a great draw. I mean, that's a very good draw for them. It's bad for us. They had Monarch for like 8 turns, but I still had more cards than they did because we just had our Cryogen Relics going, but eventually they were able to overcome us, which was a pain. I think we'll crack this because birds could be a problem. I need to find a Pyroblast now to kill that, and then also have them use their counterspell on something. That's what we need. All right, up to 11. We get another Black Mage's Rod. So I could start with that. I actually think we have enough mana. I probably just want to equip this Rod and then start playing stuff because we get a lot of damage. So I'll go here. You agree? Good. I'm glad that sounds good because without this rod, I don't know if that was the play, although I was thinking about it, but now it just feels pretty good. I guess I don't really want to crack this landscape. We have enough lands and we only have 1 basic left. I do have a Cleansing Wildfire left in our deck, so let's just tap it. So now we're pinging for 2. So like this could warrant a counterspell if they're worried about getting just pinged for 1 million. Just got cards in the mail. Squee. Hell yeah. No better feeling. So Synth pings them for 3. It probably gets countered, which is not my favorite thing ever. I could Skyfisher debate, but I actually don't have anything to pick up really. I could pick up a Black Mage's Rod and get another guy, but it's already equipped, so it doesn't really matter at this point. And by casting the Synth, I actually let them use their counterspell, which makes a bird. So I think I just pass here. Oh, I could attack with the Skyfisher for 3. We're at less life technically, but we have so much damage. Like this Galvanic is 7 damage on them that I think attacking for 3 feels pretty good here. And if they want to like snuff out or cast down this, then cast down would tap them out, so we could get through the counterspell. Snuff out just deals them a lot of damage, so that'd be good too. I guess Skyfisher is more pressure in the air. Of course, one of them is a Raven's Crime. Yeah, we always need more of those. Of course, Skyfisher is more damage in the air, so that could threaten them with the counterspell, and then I get the Synth off. Yeah, because if Synth doesn't resolve, it doesn't really matter about this core Skyfisher anyway, so I might as well just play it. And they counterspell now. Okay. If I just turn up like a bolt or something, I could just kill right here. 3 damage, plus we have 7 in hand, so they're at a virtual 4. Well, it's a landscape. Could just Galvanic them right now while they're tapped out so that I get them to 4, and then these guys just kill them later anyway. I think that's good, because then even if they counter everything I cast, I only have to cast 2 more spells and I can just win. So yeah, I think this is good. They attack with the fairies here. They got the ninja, that's fine. Nope, they just hit for 1 and pass. Glint Hawk, okay, that probably gets countered. So I think I attack first with the Skyfisher, because if they have like ways to make 2 birds here, then they could actually block it, which I'd rather like block it effectively and trade. So I'll just force the chump. Then I'll Glint Hawk. I expect a counterspell, but then we can crack the Synth, hopefully find something. There it is. Crack Synth. There's a Galvanic Blast. That's going straight at their face. All right, we get the whole match. Nice. All right, 1-on-1. I will say I have played Black Mage's Rod in a few different decks and never been extremely impressed with it, although I've died to it many times at this point. But it's actually feeling good here. At long last, this might be the deck that wins me over on Black Mage's Rod. This one looks pretty dang good. Start with our white source so that we have access to that on turn 2 if I want it, which I probably won't need it here, but It's okay. Not a Black Mage's Rod fan, but it's okay. Yeah, I haven't been the biggest fan, but it's doing some work here, I think. Definitely really good against the counterspell deck, because it doesn't matter if spells resolve, as long as I just ping you for 1,000,000. Against Red Rallies, my guess? No, Highway Robbery. So Madness or Rakdos Madness. One of the two. Lava Dart, so it looks like just mono red. Alright, so we want to apply pressure quickly. I could play Limbus Refurb. I'm going to wait a turn on Synth, because we don't have access to additional red mana here. Black Mage's Rod would be good to get down early to apply pressure. I guess Limbus would be good to have as well to gain life. I can't Black Mage's Rod and cast anything else except for Synth or Bolt, neither of which feel great. So I think we're just gonna... I think I have most of my Asper Glintblade deck together, hoping to play it next Wednesday in paper. Yes. That sounds great. I hope it goes well. Black Mage's Rod, 2 Lightning Bolts. Refurb could put in like another Lava Dart or something, so it might not be the most effective, but I think this seems okay. We have a decently aggressive hand, plus bolts can just take out Gutter Snipes and things like that. So ideally, we'll be able to race them and win the race. Yeah, luckily when I already had Orzhov Glintblade together, so when I was switching it to Esper, I just needed to find 4 Cryogen Relics, and then I also had to take apart or steal like 20 cards from my Grixis Affinity list, but I was able to put it together pretty quick. Yeah, we just killed our opponent from around 27 life. I think this certainly is the Rod deck, since all your non-creature spells cost so little. Yeah, and you can just chain them together with Synths. It does feel that way. Oh, Carnarium. Maybe they are. Maybe they're just playing Carnarium for value because they have an extra card they can discard, or maybe it is Rakdos. But Lava Darts makes me think it's mono red, probably. Anyway, Snacker's back. There's another Black Mage's Rod. Okay, so we're still at 20 life. I could just play 2 Black Mage's Rods, and then our bolts become 5 damage apiece. Although they have Lava Darts, so if they really need, they can just take out the Rod guys pretty easily, which makes that a little worse, I think. So I think we just start with Synth. See what we turn up here. Thraben Charm. Ooh, Thraben Charm's actually pretty good. It makes us pivot in a whole different direction, but we can exile the Lava Darts when they probably won't want to use them, and which means I should attack first. And then I can also bolt the Snacker and get rid of it permanently, and then that makes the Black Mage's Rods better. I could just leave the Snacker, but I think since I have the perfect opportunity to just get rid of all of it, it makes sense to do this. I don't know, that seemed decent to me. Had a good couple weeks selling cards, so I didn't feel too bad about buying everything. Yeah, that is nice when you're able to recoup the value in other cards. Yeah, I mean, I think currently Asper's been good enough that it's a deck that's sticking around, in my opinion. Even if not a lot of people have picked it up so far, I think it's going to be good for a while. They do still have 7 cards in hand. There's the Gutter Snipe. We have a Bolt for it, or just a Thraben Charm. Although I would need to have a couple creatures before I want a Thraben Charm, because they could just bolt this, keep it off the field. If I play a Black Mage's Rod and then go for the Charm and they have a Lava Dart, they can kill them both. So I have to either bolt it or like Skyfisher first, I think. I probably should just bolt it for mana efficiency. So I could Black Mage's Rod and then bolt, or I could Skyfisher a land. We're losing value, but we're getting some tempo. Then Rod, then bolt. We have 6 damage attacking. I kind of like that. So, I mean, might as well just attack first in case they want to throw anything at this. Yeah, there's like 3 versions of the deck that I've seen. Yeah, definitely a few different versions going around. I definitely like the full affinity Mirror Enforcer version. There's the Gates version, and I think those are the main 2 I've seen. But yeah, there's definitely some other versions running around. They're all very cool. So Skyfisher, pick this up, play it, Rod, so we get an extra damage here. And I would like to not die to this Gutter Snipe. I've died from 20 life to a Gutter Snipe too many times. They do have a Bolt at us, so that's 5 damage. Grab the prize with another Lava Dart, so we're at virtual 12. They pass. Okay, we can crack a Lembas here. Plus I could just, attack for 6, play another Black Mage's Rod, hold up Lembas. Seems good. So we have them dead next turn, plus we are at virtual 15 now. If they go for any damage on us or like a Gutter Snipe, I'm gonna Lembas in response, probably. The fact they have the Gutter Snipe is pretty annoying. So I could Lembas here, then we're at virtual 13 still because the Lava Dart. So they have to deal 13 with 4 cards, which Bolt, Fire Blast is easily done. Or I could hold up the Thraben Charm for the Gutter Snipe, and if they have more sorceries than instants, then I could actually take it away before it can deal too much. That seems like a risk, so I think we're just cracking the Lembas here. Gutter Snipe's so oppressive. I never thought that it would be. There's the Faithless Looting, so maybe I would prefer to have Thraben Charmed it. 3 mana 2/2. Yeah, 2 damage is a lot, but like it dies to everything, and I never thought it would be that scary. But it's pretty scary, I have to admit. It is very good. They do discard a Snacker and a Robbery, and it appears we are not dead yet, which means I should just have lethal on them. Oh, especially with this Galvanic Blast. So we'll just try to... Actually, I don't even need to do that, right? Let's just attack, because I have 8 damage instant speed here, so if they somehow had, like, lethal on me, that they wanted to slow roll for some reason, like, we have 8 damage we can go at them in response to anything they do. Assuming our Black Mage's Rods or creatures are alive, which they're going to Lava Dart one of them down, so now we'll respond by shooting this, pinging for 2, and then if there's another response, Bolt, Skyfisher, I'll just Galvanic Blast them. And so we have 8 damage at them on board, on a stack rather. They're not going to be able to gain life. That's going to be lethal. And yeah, and they're not throwing damage at us, so certainly there's no way that they have lethal on us. Otherwise they would have already done it. Close one there for sure, but the double Gutter Snipe did not get us. This is the match, of course, for life gain from compasses and not snuff outs. Single target removal is good, but obviously losing 4 life for it's not. They don't have blue, except for Snackers. Relic is okay, because it gets rid of Faithless Lootings, and more importantly, Lava Darts and Snackers. It's not necessarily the best thing ever, but we could potentially bring it in. We don't need munitions. Thraben Charm is good, because it's also Graveyard Hate and Single Target Removal. Like siding out Familiars here. Interesting. Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm not prone to siding out creatures like that, like at all. But I think you might be right. I mean, obviously it helps them with their filling their graveyard. And if I am bringing in this many cards, I do need something big to cut. Obviously, we're keeping Olympus for life gain. Black Mage's Rod feels good to race. These are indispensable. Same with all these. So yeah, we don't really have anything else to cut. And I like hand attack in this type of match because you can take away their card draw or like their Fire Blast they're sitting on. So sure, let's give that a try. Just take out the Familiars. And I was on the fence about the relics, but since we're trying to cut the refurbs, we have the slots for them. So let's give it a try. Let's see how this works out. Well, we have the Compass, but we only have 1 land. I mean, this hand is incredible if we just get a second land, because we have 3 ways to recur the Compass. Plus it fixes, it lets us play our Synth, but we should not keep that. This hand is okay, I guess. Not great. I mean, we do have the Compasses. We have an intervention to slow them down. I guess we keep this one. We get rid of one of these, I think. No creatures is looking... kind of awkward. Thraben Charm with no creatures is also not great. Of course, it can catch a snacker, but not on turn 1 like that. Grab the prize. We get a Vault of Whispers. So now, I don't need to play a Compass now. I guess I just hold up the Thraben Charm in case they go for like another snacker. I can exile it. Grab the prize with a Lava Dart. Why are you down here? I'm not going to exile a Lava Dart at the moment, so we're already at 14. I mean, Relic's not terrible. I guess we probably just play Compass and Relic. Exiling the Relic will turn on our intervention, so I could do that this turn, but I kind of want to keep the Relic in case we get like a Bolt for the Snacker, so I'll probably just wait like 1 turn on that. We're going to hold up the crack on the Relic, though. If they go for like a Gutter Snipe, I might change that, and I might crack the Relic to not die to the Lava Dart, but we'll leave that up, and we'll leave up the Landscape to pull out a basic. We don't need our mana here, but we actually have all of our colors because Compass fixes. And I'm also holding up Relic so that if they have like a snacker or whatever, again, get rid of that. Down to 15. Grab the prize with the Fiery Temper. So that puts us to 10. Mountain, and still 6 cards in hand. This deck is crazy sometimes. So we'll get a Mountain, Landscape. So, I mean, we're just drawing terribly. I guess we crack the the Relic, then go for the Intervention, and then I guess I could hold up Thraben Charm, or I could just play another Lembas. We get another Compass. I mean, I like having a Compass, and having multiple isn't the worst, but it's much better to have a creature to recur them with. 1,000,000 cards in hand. Gutter Snipe has got to be the pick. Then they have Cast of the Fire Faithless, Highway Robbery, Lava Dart, Lightning Bolts. Well, Gutter Snipe it is. So holding up Thraben Charm does not seem relevant. So I guess just so we don't die, I'll play out 2 Compasses here and hope we draw something good. I mean, like Synth into like a Skyfisher would be really good. Something like that. Cast in the Fire our land. Another Cast in the Fire. Take out 2 of our lands. I mean, kind of annoying to be honest, but we also have perfect mana anyway. Perfect sources of mana, not perfect number of mana. But we're just drawing lands anyway, so it doesn't really matter, does it? Plot a Robbery. They're just going to pass. Crack the Landscape. There's a Bolt. At long last, I could do the amazing play of spend a Bolt to kill the Snacker and then a Thraben Charm to exile their graveyard. But what else do I have going on? I think I gotta. There's the Robbery. Float a red because they're going to sack the Mountain. I will exile your graveyard. Feels like we mulliganed to like 5 here, and we did not. But that's just what happens with Compass. Again, Compass is a great sideboard card, really good in this matchup. but it's not not value of any kind. So having a bunch on board is not super relevant and is a waste of some extra cards. Faithless Looting, Fiery Temper. So that puts us to 6, 5, and they have a Bolt and the Lava Dart in hand, and we have nothing, so we are dead. We drew really poorly there. I don't think we sideboarded poorly. We did draw 4 of our sideboard cards, when we would have liked to draw 2, maybe. Plus we drew our interventions, which... Oh, we did mulligan to 6, just not to 5. Or, yeah, I don't know. I think we'll just try it again. 1 land, again, is not going to cut it. Again, now the double intervention. This one's much better, though, because we do have a Cleansing Wildfire on turn 2, and we have a Synth for later. Plus we have a Bolt for the first Gutter Sniper, Flame Breather. Compass. We're going to get this off before they can do anything bad to us with a Cast of the Fire or something. Highway Robbery. Always has the Snacker. I'm gonna Synth here. Because of the Compass, we can actually play anything we get, I believe. Yeah, Ancient Den's fine. There's a Compass. Pass. Take 2. Crack the Landscape for more landscapes. So I can intervention here just for full cost. I don't really want to sack the Synth yet. Yeah, I guess we'll do that. Hold up a Bolt. There's the Gutter Snipe. I mean, I have a Bolt for the Gutter Snipe, but this is all instant speed, so they could still deal us a lot of damage. So it's just going to be the Gutter Snipe. We didn't see a way to draw 2 from them. Out of 7 cards, they have 1 card unknown. I'm going to Bolt this, and if they top deck to draw 2, then good for them. And there it is. There's the Faithless Looting. What are you going to do? I think they're drawing very well, and we're drawing pretty mediocrely. That doesn't sound right. Snacker's back. There's a Carnarium. Pick up a mountain. Of course. Yeah, and we're drawing more landscapes. I mean, I could crack the Synth, get a 2/2, but that doesn't really matter. I'd rather preserve it, so I guess we'll cycle one of these. Lembas is fine. Better than nothing. Skyfisher's good. Finally drawing some cards. Just very, very late. Like, if they had a single draw 2 in their hand, I just would have kept the Bolt for, you know, the next Gutter Snipe or whatever, but I just assumed it was fine. They have a Sassacap's Brew, it looks like. Only reason they would be spending mana right here, I think. Yeah, so we get a Fish to deal 2 extra damage. Play a Mountain. Cast into the Fire the Synth. That's pretty annoying. I guess we're hoping for, like, something 1 mana instant speed. It's a Glenthawk. Well, that would have been great. There's a Skyfisher. I mean, still good draws, but would have been a lot better with the Synth. I could just rebuy the Navigator's Compass, but I really think we need some value. So I'm going to pick up the Lembas. Ideally, we don't need it so desperately for life that we need to use it right now, but who knows. Relic. I guess Relic's good, right? It means that if we can get the Snacker in the graveyard, it won't come back. Also draws us a card later. They do have 8 damage in hand. They have a Faithless Looting in the graveyard too. Yeah, I don't know. It seems decent. We'll play this. I want to have at least another blocker, so they have to use 2 bolts to get through. So do I just want to pick up a Compass here? Still feels like we need more value, but if they're at 8, and that's 4 cards we know about, probably be fine for a turn, but I guess we'll play it safe. Get the Compass anyway. They do bolt down a Fisher, so I assume the other one's gonna follow. Yep. Grab the prize with a Mountain and plot a Highway Robbery. Attack for 2. Black Mage's Rod. I would have liked a way to kill this Snacker so I could exile the graveyards. There is a Faithless Looting in here, so it feels like maybe I want to exile the graveyard anyway. Plus I could maybe draw something relevant. Getting rid of Faithless is decent. I guess they have a Highway Robbery, so the chances of them using the Faithless this turn I guess are lowish. If they find another Snacker, I need to have this Relic on board though. Well, I'm gonna equip this over here. Funnily enough. Hopefully their Fish is the death of them. So just for a little bit extra damage. Since I'm playing, I could have just held up the Lembas. So if we die here, because I didn't hold up Lembas, then that's a possibility. The Fish of Doom, indeed. Ideally it's Doom for them. But we are at 13. Plus they have a Robbery here, so they can have 6 cards in hand. So that seems tough for us to survive. And here's the Robbery. I mean, sack a Mountain means they don't have a Snacker in hand. They don't have a Fiery Temper in hand, which I guess is good. Flame Breather is not good. And there's the Faithless Looting that I said they definitely wouldn't be using. I mean, I didn't say definitely. I thought it was possible, but I guess with the Relic on board, they obviously just want to get their use while they can. There's a Snacker. If I find a Bolt, I'm going to use it on this Flame Breather, right? Yeah, I guess we're going to crack the Relic on the end step here, get rid of the Snacker, just draw an extra card. I mean, Wildfire is not the worst. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I could Wildfire their Carnarium, but it feels like we might need to double Lembas, like double life gain Lembas here. Let's start with the Lembas at least. Crazy how Red has all this card draw now. When I first started playing, they had none of it. Yeah, it feels like every set or 2, they get another Tormenting Voice effect to discard and draw 2. And they've just been getting better and better. And so now there's like 6 of them that are playable in different types of decks, not to mention Synth and some other cards. It is cool that it has some of that stuff, but it is kind of crazy. Well, I can Synth, and if I don't like what I get or I get a land, I can still double Lembas here. It's another Black Mage's Rod. I do like that a lot. I think we're going to cast that, and we're going to hope that we don't die from 15 life. It's cool, but you'd think the other colors would get similar stuff. Well, some of the other colors have gotten similar stuff, I would argue. Black has gotten a million Deadly Dispute variants, just as red has gotten the Tormenting Voice variants. Blue has gotten some draw twos, like Of One Mind is recent-ish. I guess it's 5 years old at this point. Yeah, but white and green are lacking, although green... I mean, Winding Way is oldish. It is pretty old at this point. Lead the Stampede's super old, but like green got Malevolent Rumble, which isn't card draw, it's card selection, but that's like a good one. White is definitely the one missing out. For sure. I think we'd probably just crack this Lembas here. Can't attack. And, because I could wait until they try to cast something, but then if they don't, I'm going to want to crack it at my end step, and then if they go for it, I die. So let's just do it now and hope we don't die. Lava Dart at us. Not a great sign. White and green could use some love. For sure. I agree with that. What would white's draw 2 for 2 mana look like? Another Casting Flame Breather is pretty scary. So we're at 11. Lava Dart puts us to 8. They just have to have like a bolt and a Fire Blast or something. There's a Grab the Prize. That's pretty good. Yeah, so 1 bolt does it now. Faithless Looting, another Lava Dart or a Fire Blast would get us. Snacker and a Highway Robbery. It's not a Lava Dart. Let's see the Fire Blast. They don't have it. And we get another Lembas. Okay. Somehow maybe we're alive. If we double Lembas, we're up to 11. Lava the Dart, Virtual 8. Snacker puts us to 6. So dead to a lot of things. We tried the Lembas dance. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It almost feels like, I mean, yeah, there's probably no reason not to sacrifice it right away. But what I really want to find is a bolt here. Because we have the mana to play and crack a Lembas, then use another. But yeah, I guess if we can just double Lembas, crack them here and survive, we can maybe just keep drawing them. So yeah, I guess we probably just do. Crack a Lembas, shuffle it back in, play another, crack it in response. And we didn't die from 5 at the end of last turn. So maybe we don't die from 11. Draw 2, exile a creature card from your graveyard, create a spirit token, sorcery, for the white one. I'm trying to think. I mean, if you drop the spirit token and you just say like, oh, it's a 2 mana draw 2, but you have to exile a creature card from your graveyard as an additional cost, that's kind of cool. Definitely really good, but it's not like you could just draw 2 on turn 2 for it. That could be kind of cool. The spirit token, I'm not sure, like, is that adding on? Feels kind of good if it like also makes a 1/1 or something, unless it's more mana. Yeah, I guess if we also survive this turn, we're pinging them for damage, so it's possible. Oh, I was supposed to crack that in response, and I did not. However, we did find a Galvanic Blast, which is pretty good. We're also very close to killing them. I can Galvanic them for 6. They're at 5. I can Cleansing Wildfire. They're at 3, but I can't actually get in for the last damage. So Galvanic Blasting one of these is definitely the move. This could definitely keep us alive. And I could attack for 3, but we lose one of our guys. I think that's probably something we do next turn, but we're going to crack this Lembas. Things are looking okay here. Kind of like how Grab the Prize deals 2 damage. Yeah, I'm seeing what you're saying. I think we would want to start. They would want to start more basic, seeing as white doesn't have a draw 2 currently. Like red started with, well, Gutter Snipe could absolutely just kill us here, which would be pretty unfortunate. Red started with Tormenting Voice, which is just discard and draw 2, and then eventually they moved up to that. So I think that probably the white draw 2 would just start with like exile a creature card from your graveyard, draw 2, make a 1/1 spirit with flying is like really, really good. We died because of Gutter Snipe, of course, even though we actually drew well in the end, getting a Lembas and then Galvanic Blast, but we did not get there. Can't see what we drew because we could have Cleansing Wildfired here. I think we could have gotten them on that last turn if they didn't draw so many of these guys. Gutter Snipe death feels so bad. Yeah, especially when we were at 5, at a virtual 2, and they couldn't kill us, and then we went back up to 11. Yeah, Gutter Snipe ended up just being the death knell there, unfortunately. All right, this hand is okay. Black Mage's Route on 2. If we want, we can like Glint Hawk Temporal on turn 2. Or turn 3, rather. Could be more red, which is always fun. Another Temporal Intervention. Starting with this. Kind of surprising it doesn't show up in more decks. Gutter Snipe. I think the deck has to just be built entirely around a Gutter Snipe, because it's very fragile and very expensive for what it does. But then when you're able to... Like, the reason the deck works so well is because it has a million free spells. Fire Blast, Lava Dart from the graveyard, Highway Robbery. And so even if you tried to slot it into like Rakdos Madness, not having all those free spells I think would make it worse. Because if you just tap out for it on turn 3, if you can then follow up with even just a single robbery or something, it can be really effective. But if you can't, it's kind of lackluster. Okay. Well, I want to bolt this, but that means we have nothing else to do. So I might as well just Thraben Charm it. Because, like, I could do the Glint Hawk, pick this up, Temporal Intervention, but then if they have a pretty good hand, we could just, like, lose a million life. I could Skyfisher, pick up a land, but then I replay a Swamp. Doesn't actually trigger the Temporal Intervention. If I pick up the bridge, I can't play a Bolt. So yeah, I think obviously Thraben Charm has more utility for the graveyard, getting rid of Lava Dart and Snacker, but we haven't seen Snacker yet, or Lava Dart. This is pretty safe. I guess actually if they Fire Blast this in response, they'll keep their Gutter Snipe alive. That's not the worst thing for us ever, because they lose 2 lands off of it. And since we have a Black Mage's Rod and maybe some more creatures for some aggressive play, that having the bolts in hand is actually good as a win con. Like an Is It deck would be pretty good. Yeah, I could see that. Well, we'll just attack here. Yeah, I think the question is, what's the Is It deck trying to... What are you getting with blue? You could just have a bunch of cantrips. Yeah, that's pretty good, actually, with Gutter Snipe. But, of course, making your mana worse is tough. Being blue, if you have a fair number of islands, now you can't play Fire Blast, which is a really good card in the deck. Cantrips and counters. Yeah, no, I think that's not a bad idea. You're definitely playing more of a control deck with a finisher then, and then a lot of times your best finisher is like a Murmuring Mystic over a Gutter Snipe. You could do like a Delver thing with like Gutter Snipe, so it's more of like a tempo deck. That could be interesting. I have no idea what's going on, and I don't have a lot else to play, so as much as I don't want to pick this Black Mage's Rod up, I think I Glint Hawk and then I Intervention here. It's either that or I just like play a Skyfisher. Either way we get 2 damage down, although this does actually take away some of our damage. But also if I can take their hand away, that's pretty good. This hand is bad, so that's a good sign for us. We can take the Gutter Snipe. They have 2 Snackers that currently are useless. Chain Lightning, which they're probably going to throw at this Glint Hawk now that they're all in on the Gutter Snipe plan, doesn't work. And Fire Blast is not going to be relevant for a while. They Chain Lightning us. Okay, never mind. They got me good. Did not anticipate that. Well, I'll attack for 3 and just cast Black Mage's Rod again. And then I guess we just start bolting them. I mean, Galvanics are not online with Metalcraft, but that's not really necessary at the moment. Although Refurb can help that. Refurb does just put a Snacker in their bin, which is, you know, only good for them, but that's fine. Or I could just hold up these. That's probably just better. We'll just pass. I can bolt on the end step, put them to 3. So even if they can, like, yeah, take out some of these, I should be able to have lethal on them. There's the bolt on that, so we will bolt them in response. Gotta bounce. We'll watch the vid later. Good luck. I appreciate you hanging out. I will see you later. We are going to get this game, it looks like. They could Fire Blast this hero to survive, but that would be pretty aggressive. We're just going to Galvanic them. Of course, it would keep them alive, so if they knew I had a Galvanic, it would be the right call, but it would still just, like, how are they coming back from that? All right, we are once again against them, so we'll try just taking out the Refurbs again. It didn't work out amazingly last time in game 2 because we drew so many of these, but that's like, and if we had drawn a bunch of Refurbs, it actually would have been pretty decent. So I'm not necessarily sold on this plan, but it was also one match and we drew pretty poorly, so we'll give it another try. All right, let's see if we can take down a match against Madness here. Not with this hand, we can't. This one's pretty decent though. I kind of want to keep the Relic. Oh, I want to keep everything so bad. I think 3 lands is pretty important. Life gain, Glint Hawk and Synth is good, so Relic feels like the odd one out. But if we get rid of a Relic, when we could play it and keep a Snacker away. Relic is really good in this match, I think. Maybe we get greedy and put away a Mountain, but then Synth sucks until we draw more land. I almost feel like it's Lembas, but life gain is kind of tough to throw away, but here I am, throwing it away. Just bolting us from the get-go. That is also kind of annoying because it just makes the Relic to take the first Snacker less relevant, because if they just Snacker here, I can't actually get rid of it, which means, yep, now I wish Relic was a Lembas. Well, I'm just going to bridge and pass. I could Glint Hawk with the Relic, but I don't like that. I'm going to hold it up in case they have another Snacker, and the next turn I can Synth. And, yeah, cast in the Fire of the Bridge. Well, that is rude, isn't it? And an Epicure. Well, Galvanic Blast is decent. It's a pretty good draw, because I can get rid of the Snacker, and then I can pop the Relic. Not having that bridge is going to make our mana weird for Synth. Also, we don't have Metalcraft for this, which means we can't take out a Flame Breather. They just Chain Lightning us. Yep, if only I had double red here. Blast the Snacker, and we just need to make something happen, so we'll just exile that. Temporal Intervention. Well, let's start with the Synth. We have nothing else going on. Thraben Charm doesn't matter at this moment, so we'll Synth, or rather Glint Hawk, the Synth, as a blocker. Cleansing Wildfire, so that's a waste. We do get to Intervention them, take a Searing Blaze, which would be devastating. They have one mountain in hand, so maybe we can get away with surviving this turn, but maybe not. Okay, I have to have another creature for Thraben Charm to kill this, so I might as well just Synth, since I can't Glint Hawk and Thraben Charm. Skyfisher is decent. I'm gonna just pick up the planes, play that, then Glint Hawk. I know we waste the value on the Synth here, but that's fine. Wasting a Lembas is pretty annoying, admittedly. And I'm gonna attack because I feel like we have to race. Ideally, they don't have much, and then next turn I can Thraben Charm the Flame Breather and then survive. I don't know. Usually when I do this, they follow up with a Gutter Snipe, so I'm ready to regret it. We're going to leave this back because every point of damage matters. I'd rather not take excess damage off the Epicure that I don't have to. Faithless Looting's a pretty good draw because they've been drawing mountains, and so they just get rid of them. Now they have a Chain Lightning to our face. Well, Synth. We can't play anything red off of Synth. What are we looking for? Compass? Yeah, hoping to get a Compass so we can just survive. Drossforge Bridge. Well, we'll play that. Attack for 4 and hope we don't die to the million cards in their deck that could kill us. They bolt us. We're at 1. Come on, whiff. Big time whiff. Well, that's unfortunate. Smash to Smithereens is a rude way to go out. And if we had just drawn Galvanic Blast, this draw button, like, works only like 10% of the time. Well, we had some outs there, but we didn't find them. What is not working for us? Keep getting relics and Thraben Charms, and they keep not being very effective. I think I'm going to bring in a couple of refurbs back and take out the relics. Well, that was... Now I went up to 62 cards, is that right? That was weird. Who did that? And yet, one of our best opening hands yet. Play 62 cards, folks. This is the lesson here. No, I'm just kidding. That was a goof. Just happened to work out. All right. Probably start with a Wildfire so we just get mana. Although Black Mage's Rod is really enticing to get the damage going. All right. Devil on my shoulder, talk to me into it. Let's go for damage instead of ramp. I mean, with a whole bunch of spells in hand, a lightning bolt, they cast into the fire. We draw probably our best draw after losing a land, because it's something we can play and it gains us life and it fixes our mana. Really hoping for no second cast into the fire, though, I will admit. We know they're playing Smash to Smithereens as well, so there's probably only got to be 2 or 3 casts in the fires. So if they have multiple, I'm going to call a judge, because that's just cheating. Okay, they grab the prize with an Epicure. Now, I kind of want a Cleansing Wildfire, but also I guess the damage is pretty good that we're doing. We're at 21, and they're going to be at 14. Yeah, I think we just go for another Rod. I guess a Lava Dart wipes our guys away, but that's fine, if that's how they want to use it. Flame Breather, we can bolt that down if we would like. Someone call for a judge. Are you a judge, Komodo? Because if so, yes, I would like to report that they're being mean to me by casting into the fire my artifacts, and I feel like that's not allowed, because I didn't like it, right? Isn't that in the rules somewhere? You can't be mean to your opponent. Faithless Looting discards another Faithless and a Chain Lightning, so they got all gas, because Chain Lightning's not the best, but it's not the worst either. I kind of want to bolt them, of course, but I don't think that's happening. I think I'm bolting this guy. So I could Skyfisher back up land. It's going to be a plains, but then my Compass can make it red, so then I can bolt this and I get an extra guy down. Or I could bolt this, and if they respond by like killing one of these, then I can intervention them, but that doesn't seem as good as just for sure getting an extra 2-3 down. We are wasting a little bit of the value of bouncing either like a Synth or a Compass to gain 3, but I think just we're going on the offensive, so I think this is the right play. Kill this guy. They didn't cast anything in response, so I assume this gets in for 4 then. They're at 8. Okay. We're still at 20. And any spell we cast is another 2 damage right now. I mean, we could still die, is the unfortunate part about this deck. If they just have a Gutter Snipe, there it is, and then they have the appropriate cards, they could definitely just kill us. Glint Hawk can pick up a Compass, which is decent. Well, we're going to attack with everything. If they just take 6 damage, then they just die to anything we cast. So they're going to have to bolt or block here. They go for the bolt on the Skyfisher, which means we can Temporal Intervention them. Actually, wait, we can Temporal Intervention and Synthesizer them. So if they still just take this 4, we can just still win. And they do take it. So yeah, we can Intervention, ping them for 2, take a card, and then we can Synth off this Compass for the last 2 damage. Unless they like respond and kill one of these, which is fair. It's a possibility. Double Fire Blast. See, I knew they could almost kill us. Double Fire Blast is 12 damage. That's outrageous. I will make this a mountain, and we will Synth for lethal. Black Mage's Rod doing work in this game. All right, we got there against Madness. So we're 2-2. Let's see if we can get the positive record. Nice 3-2. Plus the bolt, we were at a virtual 1. Yeah, because they bolted the Skyfisher. Yeah, exactly. We were like, oh my gosh, that deck is outrageous. I don't necessarily think it needs anything banned, but it is kind of crazy how you could just be at 20 and they can just kill you anyway. This is not a good hand. This is solid enough. Wildfire removal. I think we're getting rid of intervention here. We don't know what they're against, what we're against. So if we go up against High Tide or Tron, obviously we're going to wish that we had that, but I think generally a card that affects the board is better than one that affects the hand. But they're blue, so who knows? Okay, yeah, Fairy Seer. I would still say Bolt or a Blast is better than Intervention in a Fairies matchup. But that's not going to stop us from drawing the Intervention again. The old self-Thoughtseize bug. Preordain. Okay, so that makes me think they're not mono blue. They could be another Delver. They did, or not Delver, yeah, Dimir. And it looks like it. Okay, probably better for us. I don't really know. No Ninja was nice. We do get to cleansing this for, I guess, another black, in case we want double black. We're already going to have double red and double white, but they're going to both be on the same lands. So I kind of think I'd rather have at least three different sources there. I don't know. All right, so we'll get that. Next turn we can double blast or blast in a Skyfish or something like that. Fairy Seer. See if they got the Ninja. Looks like it. Ninja the Deep Powers. And Island replay the Fairy. Okay. I'm going to kill the Ninja. I could kill both. Another Temporal Intervention. I don't mind the Temporal Intervention in this deck. It seems fine, but we're drawing too many of them. We've seen all three of them in 12 cards, which is crazy. Now, if it worked with Skyfisher on a land, I'd be happy about that. I could use it and a Galvanic and a Skyfisher here. But since it doesn't, I'm not too happy about it. I think we hit the Ninja. We do Skyfisher. I don't love setting myself back a land here, but gotta do what you gotta do, and I'll just leave up the Blast. I could use it on the Fairy Seer, but feels like I'd rather save it for something else, like another Ninja maybe, or like a Spell Stutter. Brainstorm. Fairy Seer. You gotta bounce the Swamp and Intervention. It's not just your permanents. If a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn, since we killed their guy. Ah, yes. That is smart after you blast the creature. Yeah, you're right. I definitely forgot about that. So you're right. I should have done that, and I will keep that in mind. The biggest thing has been trying to remember the differences between it and Revolt, and I thought the main difference was just the non-land part. But you're right about the non-land and then also the Warp. But then you're right. It's also anybody's thing. So good call. So they probably have Spell Stutter here, which means I can't Intervention them now. Yeah, that's pretty annoying that I did not do that, because now we have like these interventions which are not great. I could Galvanic Blast, but then they can Spell Stutter. I can't do anything about that. And then I could Intervention, but that's not very good. Here to help, lethal. I appreciate it. There are too many words on these cards, and I'm not just saying new words. I'm just like, this is like a dozen words or something. That's way too many. And I can't Skyfisher because then they could Spell Stutter and I can't do anything about that. So I think we're just going to pass. We're not in a bad spot, like if we're holding them back. But if they do like Cast Down or something, that could be good. Lorien. There's the Cast Down. Okay. Swing. I would like to see a Ninja there because they would tap out. Plus I could just Galvanic Blast it. But obviously, very sure they're holding up a Counterspell here. Another Blast. I mean, I guess I just Intervention for full cost. They Spell Stutter and then I Galvanic Blast it. And we get it through. Obviously, I could Galvanic Blast first to try to make the Intervention cheaper, but then they Spell Stutter that doesn't go through, and then I have to Galvanic Blast again to do that, and then also we can't, it doesn't even matter. Like, I mean, I guess it could. I could get down to Skyfisher and the Intervention. I think we just do this, though. What happened to simple cards like Chains of Mephistopheles? That's what I'm saying. Like, just clean, nice designs. That's all I want. All right, they Spell Stutter. I will hit that, so we get to take away one of these Augurs. Beautiful Augurs. I mean, I just save this. If they pull like a Ninja, I would like to be able to use it. And if not, we can get a Skyfisher down and that blocks. I would just love to get like a Synth or something to use the Skyfisher with. All right, let's see what the Augur does. Aw, it found a card. That's not fair. There's a Preordain. That is just not right. Scry one to the top, one to the bottom. Black Mage's Rod. I mean, that seems decent. It does get counterspelled or spell stuttered. They did just keep one on top, so it's probably something like a counterspell, removal spell, maybe a Lorien or a Murmuring Mystic. I guess if it gets countered, then I get a Skyfisher down, which blocks better. And maybe it just resolves. But no, indeed it does not. Okay, so I could Skyfisher. I mean, I'm going to Skyfisher because I'd like a blocker. I could blast their Spell Stutter and then Temporal Intervention their last card, which could just be... Could it be a land? They didn't play a land because they already had 5. Could So it's probably not a land. Then again, I guess they probably would have kept one random card. This was probably what they scribed at the top. It feels like we probably just want to sit on it. If they cast like a Lorien or something, then it would be a good way to follow up after that. Well, cast down. So be it. They don't have the ninja. All right, refurb. Well, now we, being only on 1 black mana, kind of wish we had used it last turn. Because refurb takes their last card, which is nice, but it probably is another counterspell. I mean, that's just my feeling, but I don't think I'm really playing anything else. Like intervention, if it is a counterspell, just trades 1 for 1, which is not terrible. It is a counterspell indeed. Do I want to just Galvanic Blast the Spellstutter Sprite? Then we still have a 3-turn clock. It's 3 turns either way. Probably not. I mean, if they have a ninja now and pick up the Spellstutter, then I can't actually kill the ninja because they just re-Spellstutter. I don't know. I think I made a couple minor misplays for sure, but I don't think this one would be going our way if we made those differences. Synth, their top deck was a Spellstutter Sprite. I guess I could have just interventioned first to try to find that, but then Synth we wouldn't have mana to use. I mean, I guess we're not dead technically, but it's not looking great for us. They're going to swing for 4, and we're at 1. Oh, beautiful. We shuffled with the Cleansing Wildfire, so here's the 3rd intervention that we had drawn, or that we had bottomed at the beginning of the match. Swamp. You know, like I said, I don't hate these, but I'm not loving them either. All right, we played against Gates, 2 Red Madness, and 2 Dimir Fairies. Kind of weird. We get Pyros. What did we bring in before? Just that, I think. The Raven Charm doesn't do a lot. I mean, I think Temporal Intervention is pretty decent in this matchup. I just don't think it was very... I just don't want to see 3 of them, or 4 of them even. Jeez. Munitions is okay. Yeah, I guess Lembas is the one that I cut before because it's not as relevant. Sure, we'll do that. Everything else seems decent enough. We like the removal spells. Munitions, I talked about before. It's good against Spellstutter. Decent against ninjas, a little lackluster against everything else, but you can also win the game in the end. I mean, this is not an amazing hand by any means, but we are in a control versus like grindy mid-range deck matchup, so a lot of lands isn't bad. We also have the Wildfire on 2, so we can ramp ahead of them and ideally find some other things. I think this is an acceptable, if not super exciting hand, but in before we draw 4 more lands and then we, regret it. We're going to Wildfire for, we have black, we have 2, yeah, we can get another white, I think. Lembas is decent. Hi, I love your content. I'm learning to play it properly from your videos. Do you have any guides for Grixis Affinity, and do you think it's a reasonable deck to play right now? Yes, I think it is a reasonable deck to play just about any time at all. Sometimes people might be siding a little bit more aggressively against it, sometimes not. Even when it's not the deck of the deck that everyone's looking to, it's still going to people are still going to have sideboard cards for it. I'm not going to play anything here into their counterspell. So even when you don't have, like some people might not have 4 Dust to Dusts and other cards against it, there's still going to be a couple Dust to Dusts in sideboard. So like it's always going to be a rough one. But it's always a good deck, I think. It might not be the best deck. Like a lot of people say Jund Wildfire is just a strictly better deck. I think it is generally a better deck, but I think Grixis Affinity is still pretty decent. As far as, I mean, I have a couple videos playing Grixis Affinity. They might be a little older. I think I have one from a month or 2 ago, and then I have one from like a while ago. So they might not be as up to date. I would say that there is a player, Luffy, who plays Grixis Affinity almost exclusively. He's extremely good with the deck, has a sideboard guide that you can buy, and generally I just rip whatever list he's currently playing because he's very good at the game and doesn't play any other decks. So I play the deck a little bit, but I'm not necessarily an expert, so I would suggest, if you really want to get good with the deck, looking at his stuff. But I appreciate the kind words, and certainly I'll play some more Affinity on the channel at some point. They have an Annul, which means they could also hold up a Red Blast or another Annul here, so if I go for like a Synth, they could get me. So I think I'll play a Vault. If they want to Spell Pierce or another Annul, they're going to get this regardless, but I'll play a Lembas. It is an interesting question if we should side out Synths when they side in 4 red, when we side in 4 Red Blasts because of the flips. I get what you're saying. I kind of want to hold Glint Hawk for the Synth, but is it going to resolve? I don't think the deck functions properly without Synth. I don't think it's a card you can ever cut. Yes, we still have other artifacts to pick up, but like picking up a Lembas is just so much worse. It's still good value. It's not bad at all, but it is not quite what you want to be doing. I'm just gonna pass again here. That I understand what you're saying, but also like usually they'll have a fairy on the board that if a Red Blast being turned up just kills their guy on board, it's not the end of the world. I don't know. Usually I don't think it's that bad, but I understand the thought there. The fact is that I hate Chrysalis so much. Thanks, by the way. Yeah, I mean, if you're not a fan of Chrysalis, obviously, Wildfire isn't for you. Generally, people have said that they think Enforcer is just not very good anymore, because it's a 4/4 against Chrysalis, which is a 4/5, or against Tolarian Terror, which is a 5/5. That's absolutely not true. Yeah, I was a little worried about this. Hopefully we can get some good value while they're tapped low, but if they have like the Hydroblast or something, or an Annul, it's going to be bad for this. I could just blast this now. I think we'll wait. If I take the Monarch, I'm going to want to have their guys gone. I guess we blast it now. Yeah, so people say that it is true that Mirror Enforcer is worse and certainly like bad against those cards, but Mirror Enforcer is just kind of a busted card. So anybody who said, like, because I've been playing a lot of Esper Affinity, Esper Cryoblade, and people have been saying that they don't like Munitions is fine. They don't like that I'm running Enforcers. They don't really want to run those because they're bad. But I think anybody who says that's bad has not played with Enforcer in a while, because yeah, it's got some bad matchups, but it is not a bad card. It is an insane card. So Infinity can absolutely still work. And yeah, if you're trying to play not Chrysalis, I think you can definitely still just do that. Okay, so we have 3 mana worth of cards in exile here. 3 mana plus, so we have 3 more. So I can probably do another Synth and still be able to play everything. So I think I'm going to do that. The reason to do this before I play any of the other guys is if I get like a Black Mage's Rod, then I can deal some damage off the Makeshift Munitions, or if I just get a card that I would prefer to use otherwise. They have a counterspell. They didn't Hydroblast the Synth right away. That seemed crazy to me. I mean, I really appreciate that because it allowed us to get this value, but if they had done that, I would have been in a bad spot. Now, if they just have removal for both of these, still not in a great spot. They do discard an Angler. I'll put the Munitions on the field. We have 2 flyers to try to take the Monarch. Blockers doesn't really help them because of our Munitions, so they have to have like 2 removal spells. There's a Fairy Seer. And scribe both to the top. Cast down the Glint Hawk. Feels like they should have cast it down before they played the Fairy Seer, because now I just get to kill this with a creature that's already dying, whereas I would have just thrown that at them otherwise. But I guess maybe they wanted to see top cards of their deck, which is fair because Monarch draws them a card here, so if they draw like another cast down and they can kill the Refurb, then I can't take the Monarch, which I assume there's something like that. We're gonna go to attacks. They could also flash in a Spellstutter Sprite, but again, we have a Munitions to take that away, so that's not gonna keep the Monarch for them, so they have to have a cast down here, because also Snuff Out doesn't work. We're hoping they don't have anything. Brainstorm, okay. Well, that gives them a couple more chances to hit, but now they only have 1 mana. What are they going to find for 1 mana that can kill a Refurb? I guess, like, I don't know. Hydroblast the Munitions. Okay, that is decent. Still lets us take the Monarch, though. Maybe they just have, like, another Thorn. Can get it again. We're going to play Olympus. Skyfisher's great. We're going to play that. And they concede. Okay, well, all you got to do is take the Monarch, and they'll concede. We were in a good spot there, but depending on what they had, maybe they had a shot. But yeah, I think Monarch's really scary to keep in their deck in this matchup because we have 12 flyers. They obviously have a lot of flyers too, but we just have so many that a lot of their ground creatures are irrelevant. This hand is decent, and they mulligan to 6. No 1-drop is nice. Play a bridge. Next turn, I can get down one of these artifacts, maybe. They got an Augur. No, they foretell a Behold the Multiverse. Okay, I assume they're on Barf's list then, because he plays Dimir Fairies a lot. I played that list recently, and it has a Behold the Multiverse in there. I guess we just get down the Black Mage's Rod to try to deal damage quickly. Next turn, I can refurb and crack the landscape for the white so that we can start getting Glint Hawk going, which is probably a good idea. There's the Beholden Multiverse. I knew it. Scry one to the top, one to the bottom, island. Well, let's swing for 2. And yeah, we definitely want to get white source down. So I could play like a Lembas, but I'd rather just play the refurb and pressure their life total, I think. This could be worse against like a Suffocating Fumes if they've kept that in, which they could have taken it out. Only half my creatures die to a Suffocating Fumes, but still not a bad one by any means. Brainstorm and discard a Pachuca Bog. There's a Swamp. Augur Bolas. All right, what are we getting this time? Counterspell. Pretty good. Crack the Landscape. For planes. Temporal Intervention. Okay, so I can Lightning Bolt their guy, and because now I know how Temporal Intervention works, because I can read, and I have a chat to remind me, then I can Glint Hawk and replay a Refurb, something like that. I wasn't sure if I wanted to bolt this Augur, but now that I have the Temporal Intervention, I think it's worthwhile. And if they want to counterspell either the bolt or the intervention, that's fine. They have a spell stutter sprite. That's a little annoying. I wasn't thinking about that in this particular moment. Since that's my only removal spell, I actually can't use it. That's still not the end of the world. Okay, it's fine because I don't get to attack like I wanted to. However, I can now Glint Hawk the Refurb, replay that, and then I can Temporal Intervention since something left the battlefield. They discard a counterspell. Well, if they have all lands here, they get me good, but I think that would be crazy. Another counterspell, a Ninja, and a Cast Down. Ninja's not getting through. Even with a Cast Down, I can block. And so I guess it's counterspell. And that also means I can Synth next turn, which is pretty good. Assuming they don't top deck another counterspell. They do Cast Down. I guess they can attack with both. So they could Ninja, but if they just attack here, I can just block with both. They'll kill a Refurb, that's fine. Then they can spell stutter the next turn and Ninja, but ideally we'll have a flyer or a removal spell or something. I think that's a reasonable trade for us. Pyroblast works. So let's start with a Synth. If their last card is now a counterspell or spell stutter, okay, we get to counter it. This does mean that unless we find like a removal spell or a flyer, the Ninja can get the spell stutter, but I didn't necessarily know they would have a spell stutter right there. Ooh, perfect. Look at this. Was it Komodo that was saying we should side these out? Or no, it was Campus. Campus. Look at this. I'm just giving you a hard time. But we were luckily found a Red Blast when we were able to still use it off the Synth. But I understand. I'm just giving you a hard time. Certainly it's one that you could consider how that works with the Synth. You get a Fairy Seer. We still don't have a flyer, so Ninja could come down next turn. Scry 2 to the top is crazy. Ooh, we get another Synth, though. And a land. All right, play that. Play a Lembus. Temporal Intervention. Have we had anything leave? No, we played a Synth, then a Lembus. Like, I would Temporal Intervention this Ninja, but we actually can't unless we attack and they block, but then the Ninja's irrelevant anyway, and they're not going to block. So I guess we don't need this. We get a land. Obviously a little worse, but I'll attack because I'm fine with this trade, and I'm also fine dealing them 2 more damage. So there's the Ninja, Fairy back in hand. They had already scried 2 to the top, which means they have 2 cards they wanted to have in hand, which is pretty scary. One of which is a Brainstorm they use before they draw. That's smart. Is that smart? No, because if they let the Ninja resolve, then they can dig 1 deeper with the Brainstorm. Whereas by doing it now, they get fewer options. So I think they should have just let it resolve, but that's okay. Now replay the Fairy Seer. Oh, Island, replay Seer. I could crack the Lembus because we have the mana for it, but I don't really need to, and I'd rather just leave it on board in case it's something I do want to pick up later. Or if I want to, I guess I want to crack a Synth. Then we can Intervention. Maybe we hit something off the Synth. Doing it this way means that if I want to hit Intervention, and the other thing has to be a white 1-mana spell like a Glint Hawk, but by leaving up both colors, if I don't want to play the Intervention, I can still play it no matter what it is. I don't know. It's a land, so what does it matter? Well, let's Intervention them, see if that last card is anything relevant. It's got to be something, I believe. Like a Hydroblast? Take out this Synth? Yeah. Alright, get a Glint Hawk. Pyroblast? No! Now I have to eat my words. My least favorite thing to eat. Alright, well, we'll play that. I mean, to be fair, anything that was red or black there would have been bad, but that's still not my favorite thing. I could attack. They'll probably block this time. Then I block. I don't want to block with the Samurai, because I don't want to lose all my creatures for the Black Mage's Rod, so I think we just pass. Because I want to block the Ninja, but I don't want to lose all of these. So I think we'll just block with the Hero Token. Yeah, they don't even bother. And, well, I can bother. I can still attack them. And if they want to trade, that's fine. Sure. And I didn't think Grixis Affinity was so complex to play properly. I will say almost every single deck that exists is complex to play 100% properly. Like, there are definitely decks that are easier. I don't deny that. There are decks that are simpler to get the gist of, but like even a mono red deck that people are like, oh, it's kind of brain dead. You know, it's pretty easy. There's a lot of complexity and like little things you have to look out for. And yes, Grixis Affinity is not the simplest deck by any means. Definitely agree with that. Which means it's fun. It's fun that you can learn so much, even if you've been playing the deck for a while. But it does mean getting into it, playing perfectly is really tough. All right, well, we've drawn like 4 lands in a row. And they have a Lorien to go off next turn, which means we'll have 1 more turn where they're tapped out to go off. But if we don't find something, they're going to have like a million counter spells and we could die for sure still here. There's the Lorien. 1 flip of Red Elemental Blast was good. The other was bad, so it evens out on average. Yeah, for sure. Definitely the case. No attacks with the Fairy Seer is interesting. Skyfisher's good. They shouldn't have a counter spell for this. I get to pick up Lembas, which they could have a counterspell for. They could have a null, but it's either that or pick up a Black Mage's Rod, which has the same problem, plus it doesn't actually draw us a card if it does resolve. And we get to ping them for 1. They don't have the annul, it looks like, so we get a Lembas, and I mean, Galvanic Blast just wins the game, assuming they don't have a Hydroblast or a Dispel, which they absolutely could, but we're gonna go for it. They do have the Dispel. Glad I said or Dispel too, because I knew that was a possibility. All right, they're still at 4, and we now have a good flyer, so we're still certainly in a winning position. Don't Murmuring Mystic me, bro. Thorn of the Black Rose. That's not as bad. It's like maybe as bad, but it's not as bad. Another Fairy's here, but unless they have a third one, they can't profitably block the Skyfisher. They do have chump blockers. It is bad for sure. I don't deny that, but ideally we can take that Monarch or just find more removal spells, like a Galvanic or a Bolt should just kill them. That we're obviously just going to cycle. That we're obviously not going to cycle. We'll attack. They will chump, play a bridge, and pass. All right, don't slip away from me here, please. Another Lorien. Things are slipping away. Y'all, an island, attack with a Thorn. I will take it. Up to 5 cards in hand. Well, chances that one of those is a counterspell, probably pretty high. We're going to attack first, see if maybe we draw out a cast down, and then I can get the Skyfisher through, but otherwise they might just chump, which I guess means Spell Stutter doesn't counter this anymore, but just a counterspell does. I mean, they've used a couple counterspells, right? 1, 2... Yeah, 2 actual counterspells, which should be the only thing that counters this. I think we're going to go for it then and just hope. Spell Stutter Sprite, because we attacked first, does not counter the Skyfisher. Very important that you attack in this manner against a Fairies deck like this. Now we get to cast Lembas. Now they have the Annul. That is annoying. We do ping them for 1, and now we have 2 flyers though, so it's not the worst. Another Lorien? You gotta be kidding me, dude. Okay. They need a cast down or snuff out or something to not lose the Monarch here. Any thoughts on moving the Rod? Yeah, good thing just to bring up. I don't think it does a lot for us right now. I know that they were going to chump last turn and this turn, and the creature they want to kill right now is Skyfisher, and now 2 Skyfishers. So, like, moving it now, assuming they have a cast down, they're going to cast that one down, so it's kind of a waste. Obviously, we have the mana, so it's not really a waste that much, because we can always move it right back. But I feel like the things they're trying to kill right now are Skyfishers. Meanwhile, the hero token's just slowly killing them, and we have a Galvanic Blast, so if they don't have a counterspell, we can kill them, but I think there's no reason to move it right now. If, theoretically, if we had 1 Skyfisher and they didn't have this Sprite, I would probably move it, because maybe we can get in for 3, and that's lethal. By equipping it here now, it doesn't matter. We know they're going to chump block, even if they don't have something else. And theoretically, if we move it to the Skyfisher, then they cast that down, and then we let that go, then there's an opportunity for them to kill a hero token when I don't have the Black Mage's Rod equipped, which is unlikely to happen, but I don't think it's necessary right now. I think it doesn't give us any benefit until they actually don't have blockers. Meanwhile, there's a very slim chance of it being a negative. But it's a good thing to like think about, because it could be relevant. If they have like a snuff out, they're going to have to hard cast it, which means Galvanic Blast will kill them. Okay, so they did not have anything. So if we'd moved it there, they would have chumped the bigger one. But I'm trying to think if there's any way they have that they can stifle the Galvanic Blast trigger or the hero trigger, and I don't think so. So we're just going to try to win or gain life. They could have like a Crypt Incursion, I guess. Kind of a weird one. Probably should have just Galvanic Blasted one of these, but I don't think it matters. Well, our opponent disconnected, but did not concede. So it seems like they rage quit, which is a little rude. I thought we were having a good match back and forth, but apparently they don't want to have a good ending. Probably gonna have to wait this out for like 5 minutes or something, which is a pain. However, I mean, making them rage quit's never a bad thing. So it looks like we're gonna get that 3-2 after all. I think I will probably play at least a couple more matches, if not another league. I guess this gives me an opportunity to hit the restroom and whatnot while they're salting off. So I'm gonna do that real quick, and we'll see if we win this match. Well, I took a second to throw together a PB&J because I knew that we'd probably still be waiting for this. Oh, look at that. We're up on time now. Good for us. You know, maybe we should give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe right as we cast that game-winning spell, their mom asked them to take the trash out or something. I don't know. I can never know what's going on in their life. So after these results, what do you think about Mardu Synth versus Boris version? I think I like the cards that Black offers a lot. I think Boros Synth is a great deck, but it can feel a little flat sometimes, because all it really has to do is put creatures on, like all it is able to do is put creatures on the board, remove creatures, or like draw cards or Synth or whatever. And the fact that we get discard for them, more direct damage with the hero tokens, or rather the Black Mage's Rods, and hand attack is really nice. Plus we get to play Cleansing Wildfire, which is always a good card. It doesn't feel like exceptional in this deck, whereas it feels crazy good in like Jund, but it's still decent and obviously makes it so that when we're able to synth and chain that off, the extra mana is really good. Felt like it was really hard to get a lot of synth chains going. Maybe it was just because we went up against 2 Fairies matches, which is a tough, counter spells are going to be tough to make that happen. Maybe it was partially because we went up against 2 Mono Red Madness matches, which is like, we're always on the brink of dying and we need to be aware and have removal up and stuff like that. And then we played against Gates, which they ended up beating us and just like outvalued us. So yeah, I don't know. I think I like Mardu maybe a little. If I'm being 100% honest, Boros is probably a better deck, but I do think I like what Black offers the deck. So like if you're just going for what is the best deck, what's the, I think the mana and everything makes it so that Boros is probably just better. But I do think this is a more interesting deck because you get like I think Refurb is the most busted creature in the format. I think any deck that can play a Refurb should. Now it's very, very good in like a Jund, but like no deck is just playing a Refurb like once is the reason it's so good, is because you're picking it up with a Glint Hawk or a Skyfisher, so you can, if you have the right draw, you can take 2 or 3 cards from their hand in the same turn. Or you're playing it in a Jund or Grixis Affinity where you can rebuy it with a Boros Synth. That's not what I meant to say at all. A Blood Fountain. And so no matter what deck you're playing it in, you have the ability to like recur it in some way, and that just makes it absolutely insane. So like I think this is the best creature in the format, and I think that being able to play it is good. So yeah, for that reason I like this version. Like I said, I think we'll do at least start another league. So I'm interested in playing this deck some more, but I am interested in making some changes, trying out maybe a slightly different version. I'm open to suggestions. Maybe we like cut the wildfires and see, what else we can fit in the deck. Interventions were really awkward a lot of the time. I think maybe we'll just relegate them to like the sideboard. Also with no Krarks, I kind of wanted some of those at some points. I guess the matches that we played against didn't really care too much for like Krarks, but in general it feels like it's a card to have in the sideboard when we have 12 flyers and just some rods. So yeah, so I'm open to other cards. I personally, at least in the Esper versions, I like Tithing Blade in the main deck. If we had that in the main deck here, it wasn't one that we necessarily wanted to bring in, but like it's decent against fairies and it's decent against Mono Red Madness. It would have been just mediocre probably against Gates, but I do like Tithing Blade. I mean, I just want to fit in Cryogen Relic, but I don't think we're going 4-color here. I've already tried that once and it didn't work super well. We obviously had to keep the mana value low with the Synth. Black Mage's Rod did do a lot of work, so part of me in general feels like, 4 is kind of a lot of Black Mage's Rods, but they did really well there. I don't know, let's see. What other cards people play sometimes in this list, this type of list? We could do Tithing Blade. Obviously, we could do like a Grim Bauble. Not super effective. I think we have enough cheap creature removal covered. Not to mention the fact that black is kind of supposed to be our splash color, so we don't necessarily want to have want it that early. If we cut Cleansing Wildfires, we could do like compasses in the main deck like Esper does, or my Esper version does. Since we already have fixing with Wildfires, we wouldn't need it here, but we could cut them. I mean, Wildfire's probably just better. I guess, yeah, if we do Compass, the reason we do that is for like the affinity, and we don't, like an Enforcer is probably not something we need to jam into this deck. My version of Mardu, I don't play any Snuffs in the sideboard. I also play 2 Electrickery. Electrickery, yeah, maybe that instead of Krark, because that's also good against fairies. Yeah, I mean, maybe we just didn't run up against the matches where Snuff Out's good, but I went up against Madness, which is a deck that I would want single target removal against, but I just didn't want Snuff Out. Like, if there was a cast down in the sideboard, I probably would have brought those in. Or to be fair, I kind of think not with the Black Mage's Rod, I almost want to play 4 Lightning Bolts so that we have even more burn, because this just feels like burn could be a real win here between munitions, rods, and these guys. So maybe we tried those, and Electrickery's in the sideboard over some Snuff Outs. We also don't have Artifact Hate here, which we don't necessarily need, but if we go up against like a Affinity, we really don't have many sideboard cards for them. I know Dust to Dust can be an awkward one because it's 3 mana for Synth, but it's still really good. Is that something to throw in the sideboard and just make sure we're a little more careful with our Synths when we bring them in? Kind of feels like that could be the case for me, in my opinion. Let's see. Here's a Mardu Synth by someone else. Modern TR with Fanatical Offerings. Otherwise, oh, and Journey to Nowhere. Okay. I don't know if Offerings quite where you want it to be. Cast Down. More Offerings. Spell Bombs. Sure. Offering. I was mentioning in the beginning, this version doesn't run Omen of the Dead. And I don't necessarily think Omen of the Dead is like 100% required because the loop can be pretty tough to actually make happen. But with Cleansing Wildfire with so much mana, with Black Mage's Rod, if we keep recurring the Omen of the Dead, it's extra pings. It kind of feels like it might fit pretty nicely in this version. Also, being able to rebuy a Refurb's pretty good. And we had that one extra slot from our Temporal Interventions being taken out. So I think maybe we'll try something like this for League 2. Like I said, not that much different, but a couple minor changes. Generally, I think the deck's pretty solid, but I can't say I was loving the Temporal Interventions in the main deck. Our mana felt decent, mostly, so I think this is probably fine. All right, let's jump into another league then. See if we can do a little bit better than the 3-2, which isn't a bad record at all, but I have about 4 more days. I was hoping to, I haven't been playing that much, to be fair, but I have 6 trophies, which I think is the most trophies that I've gotten in a league in a season so far. If I get 2 more, I could be visible in the top leaderboard, which would be kind of cool. But I mean, some people have 19. That's crazy. All right, jumping into League 2 here. And this one's pretty awkward. We have no artifact lands for the refurb. We only have 2 of our colors. So Skyfisher. I'm going to keep it because we got a lot of good value and we're on the draw. But it is kind of awkward. Looks like we might be against Boros. Another refurb's not quite what we wanted. I think I probably need to get red with the landscape so that we can maybe play a Synth. Even if Synth doesn't do us much good, it can at least be an artifact for the familiars. We get a bridge. Okay, that's decent. Kind of annoying I just sacrificed this for red. Obviously, I could have waited, but I don't know. They don't have a play here. Is interesting. Ooh, and we get a Cleansing Wildfire. I mean, I was going to play a refurb for 3 mana, but now we don't have to. So let's just Cleansing this. Hope they don't have main deck cast into the fire. Okay, good. And that gets us our white source, and now things are really coming together. This is why I didn't want to mulligan this hand. It could have flopped pretty bad, but we just had a lot of solid cards, and now we have a very good spot. We're in a very good spot. Now, obviously, they kept a risky hand with 2 lands and nothing to play, and they discarded Counterspell. I was thinking it could be Jeskai, which means all their scariest cards are going to be blue. They don't have a Wildfire or anything. They are not in a good spot. We're going to just kick things off with a Synth. We get a Lembas, so I can play Lembas and then play 2 refurbs. Takes 2 of their cards. I can start attacking. They might have some bolts and things, to be fair. We just haven't committed creatures to the board yet. But yeah, let's play this. Another Synth is not bad, honestly. We already have one, but I don't know. Seems like decent value. Obviously, the deck is named after it. And then we get to double refurb, and they just concede right there. I mean, they were in a rough spot, obviously. But yeah. So, honestly, the value of just knowing what they discarded there with the Counterspell, they probably didn't want to show any more cards, but just discarding a Counterspell tells us they're on Jeskai, so we know that we can bring in Pyroblasts and Relics, probably. Oh, I maybe should have switched these Relics to Spell Bombs because we brought in an Omen of the Dead. Just something to be aware of. Makeshift isn't very good here. Thraben Charm hits graveyards and creatures, and they have a lot of creatures that are really important. Assuming it's a traditional Jeskai, they're going to have Murmuring Mystic, Muldrifter, Archaeomancer. Of course, we do have Bolts and Pyroblasts for most of those. Could probably cut a couple Lembas. Omen is decent. They might have some Thraben Charms of their own. They are going to bring in Artifact Hate, so I guess maybe Relics aren't the best, but I think just having a way to break up their Archaeomancer loop is pretty important generally. Also, Temporal Interventions isn't bad in this match. Like, generally, I like hand attack in this matchup. Can we really afford to bring all of this in, though? Potentially not. I don't know. Is Black Mage's Rod decent here? Like, he's good against counter spells, but they also have a lot of removal. I guess I don't want to cut too many threats, but it feels like maybe a couple of the rods can go out. This might be overside boarding. These are already in, but like, it all seems pretty decent. We are also bringing in a couple artifacts, so taking out some isn't the end of the world, but I don't really know what else I want to cut, so maybe we will just do like, maybe leave the relics out. Thraben Charms. I don't know. Not super familiar with the sideboarding for this deck, and then a lot of good cards to bring in at this point, it looks like. Again, kind of an awkward one for different reasons, but because we only have one artifact land, and we're just a little bit flooded. But I don't know, these guys get pretty good value. Good mana is not something I really want to get rid of. So I think we just try it anyway. Tap 2 and then untap. Looks like they want to hold up Counterspell. We've got a Wildfire. I think we're just going to pass. I could Wildfire my land, but they could easily Counterspell, or worst case, even like cast it into the fire. I could pay 3 for a Refurbished Familiar, but they could just Counterspell. Now they have the Wildfire. And we don't waste our turn by passing here. It's not great, but we can cycle a landscape, which is something anyway. They are obviously holding up a Counterspell. Raven Charm. Ancient Den lets us play a 2-mana refurb, which I guess we'll go for. They Counterspell that, then I can get a Cleansing Wildfire off. Not that we necessarily need that many more lands, but I'll do it while they haven't removed this. We got a black source, I suppose. We did tap out, which is probably not the smartest thing against a Muldrifter Ephemerate opponent, especially when we have the removal to interact with that. So I guess we just hope they don't go for that and take advantage of us being tapped out. There's a Preordain. Scry both to the top is not what I want to see. Galvanic Blast. Well, I could just play a refurb, but I guess they just probably Counterspell. I guess we might as well just pass. Everything else I have in my hand is reactive, so playing this out and then having it counterspelled, I don't really get to capitalize on that. So I think we'll just pass it along. There's the Muldrifter, and it just dies, so that's just a divination. Still, you know, card advantage. Not the worst thing ever. Cycle this for a Glint Hawk. Another refurb. Okay. So now I can refurb, counter that. I can refurb Glint Hawk. Because we only have 2 artifacts, I can't actually do another refurb after that. Still seems like it's decent enough. A null. Well, that is annoying, isn't it? So we just have another counterspell now. It's not great. Well, I guess I'll pass. In that case, I should have not tapped the red, because now I don't have double bolt up in case they go for like another Muldrifter. They're just going to cast Alorian Revealed. Well, that's pretty good too. And we're kind of in a stalemate a little bit. They're definitely pulling ahead here. I mean, bridge is fine. It lets us play the refurb for 1, but then this gets countered by another null. Yikes. They just hard cast a Muldrifter. Okay. Black Mage's Rod. Counterspell for that. We'll pass. Take 2. Murmuring Mystic. Yikes. Well, I could send off all 3 of these at the Mystic, assuming one of them gets countered. It's probably better than doing nothing. If 2 of them get countered, it's kind of a waste, but we're also just going to die to birds pretty quickly here regardless. Ephemerate, and then if they have the counterspell, yeah, we're going to get wrecked. Okay. They did not have a counterspell. That's very good. If they did, I probably would have conceded, because that would be way too much value. They still make 2 birds, which is pretty good. Just a Galvanic Blast. I mean, should I just play a Glint Hawk to block? I guess so. Doesn't do anything else, but it'll at least eat a bolt or some damage here. I mean, I guess I'll trade for the Muldrifter. Means the next Ephemerate is less scary. Another Lorien Revealed. Alright, well, we did not find a Synth ever, and they found 3 Lorien Revealeds to cast. We weren't able to pressure early enough. Glint Hawk. Now that the Muldrifter's gone, I guess we can take 2 a turn. They didn't have a counterspell, or at least didn't use a counterspell a couple turns ago, so maybe we can find a Synth and get enough value to survive here. Dust to dust. That's pretty good. There's an Archaeomancer. Get back an Ephemerate. I would like to exile their graveyard. Counterspell. Try to kill the Archaeomancer. I mean, they're tapped out of white right now anyway, but I don't want it to sit around when the Ephemerate comes around. We'll give them another dust to dust target, I suppose. I just don't think playing a Glint Hawk here matters. They still have so much value that I need to hope to hit something off the top here, but dust to dust, indeed. Another Archaeomancer. They have Ephemerate in hand. They get a counterspell here, and then they have us locked. Returned it a null. That's kind of weird. I feel like you would have just wanted an actual counterspell, but either way, draw never works. We're gonna die. I guess maybe relics. I mean, it feels like we need bolts for a lot of stuff, but there we did just have a lot of bolts we didn't need. We're bringing in Pyroblast, so we have a lot of removal for creatures. Let's try this, I guess. Try out some slightly different things. Hand looks okay. Looks like we're just Boros, except for this landscape, but nothing wrong with that. I mean, I could just run out of Synth while they're not, while they don't have Counterspell up. Doesn't seem very good. Cycle a Lorien, Snow-Covered Island. They probably have a null or something up then. We also just get a bridge, so I think we'll pass. A null or Hydroblast, but if they didn't have anything, they could bluff for sure, but otherwise if they didn't have anything, it feels like they would have just gotten a tap land with the Lorien. I could wait on the Synth until we have like another Synth, or until I have like a Hydro or a Pyroblast of our own. I guess we do that when they're only on 1 blue mana. They would have played another blue land if they had it, because it's much scarier to have 2 blue mana. So the fact that they didn't shows us they didn't have a blue land, and in fact they don't have another land at all. Correct the landscape for a swamp. Fortunately, that blue mana could just be enough if they have a way to counter the Synth, but it feels like we probably want to get down Glint Hawk and Skyfisher to go aggro here. But then if they just have like bolts, it doesn't do much. I guess I'm going to run out the Synth. I mean, this just gives power to their annul or whatever, but yeah. Skyfisher, pick up a land. And I think if I'm going to do one of these, I might as well do the second one. We're sacrificing the potential value of the future for speed, tempo right here, seeing as they're tapped, seeing as they're missing land drops, maybe it's good enough. But yeah, they just have a bolt here. If they have another one, then it's kind of a waste of these guys. But we kind of saw what would happen last turn if we just didn't do anything, is they take over eventually. Obviously, that's just how that one played out. But all right, well, they do find their land. We do find a Lembas. Don't want more land. We get a Red Blast. I'm going to play a Mountain. So if they go for like a Muldrifter, Ephemerate, plus they have like a counter spell, then I have Bolt and Red Elemental Blast to make sure that doesn't happen. If they just like hard cast a Muldrifter or a Lorien, then I can Red Blast it as well. And if they don't do anything, that's fine too. Glint Hawk, attack for 2. Scred. Can't do anything about that. Kind of risky, because I could Glint Hawk here. They probably have a counter spell, but then I could Red Blast it, pick up the Lembas. But then if I play the Lembas again, then I'm tapped out. I could actually hold up Bolt still. Yeah, I guess we're going to go for it. Like, the risky thing is if they then resolve a Lorien or a Muldrifter or something. So maybe I should just let this go, but part of me doesn't want to. I actually think I'll just play Bridge here. I might want to keep this landscape. This does televise that we have a Bolt or something, but maybe that holds them back from doing anything at all. If they think it's like a Red Blast. Dust to Dust, it looks like. Oh no, it is a Muldrifter. Well, didn't hold them back too much. I will just Bolt it in case they top deck like a, or get a Plains that they can play and then hold up Ephemerate. I'd rather that not happen. Play a Lembas. We don't need lands, please. Omen is pretty good. That lets us get our Skyfisher back, which can pick up the Omen, which I guess we just play right away so that it doesn't get countered and it picks up a Glint Hawk. Then we've stopped the loop until we find another Skyfisher, which is not great. Just by holding it up. Yeah, I guess we also don't want to tap out because that reveals we don't have any interaction. By holding it up, they're kind of forced to hold up Counterspell if they want to stop it. Well, there's a Lorien. They do have annuls, so that can hit the Omen as well, even if they leave up only 1 blue mana here. We do get in for 4, it looks like. Obviously, they could Scred and change that, but then they're tapped out. If they want to kill something here, it should probably be the Glint Hawk, since the Skyfisher can come right back with the Omen. But they might also just want to hold up a null. We're going to Lembas. Pyroblast is pretty good. Part of me wants to play this land, but we are running out of things to use it on, so I guess we'll keep it. 6 is a good amount. If they dust to dust us, 4 is not, and I'm going to want to play it, so maybe I should just get it down anyway. They got a Wildfire. Well, I'm going to cycle this on the end step. We can still hold up Omen and Pyroblast, but if they want to go for something here, they certainly can. We'll turn it into a new landscape. And another, why not? I mean, I'd prefer landscapes than other lands, but it's still a lot of cards that don't do much. Attack for 4. They do bolt the Hawk. You take 2. I'll play 1 landscape, I suppose. Preordain. I mean, we are pressuring them, and it's hard for them to do, like, kill the Skyfisher with the Omen around, but it does feel like we're losing momentum. Scry both to the bottom, and another Wildfire. Bridge, and they pass. We're going to crack this landscape, and then we're going to cycle this one. Try to find not lands. Come on. Galvanic Blast. If we get them down low enough, could be good. Omen of the Dead existing makes them really worried about... I assume they have like a removal spell, maybe even a counter spell, but they're worried about like the Pyroblast, so it's like, can they afford to go for it yet? I don't know. They're not doing a lot else, so we are winning here. Don't think there's any reason to keep this in hand, so let's just play it. Drawing 2 more lands. Obviously, I wish I had kept that landscape, but you never know. They go down to 6. They do usually play like a Union of the Third Path, which can gain them life at instant speed, equal to their hand size. So I'm not going to just send off a Galvanic Blast the moment they're at 4. Obviously, they have counter spells too, so a lot of reasons not to do that. This time they scribe both to the top. They have a Murmuring Mystic. I mean, I have to fight over that, although I'm sure they'll have a counter spell. At least it'll be 1 fewer bird that comes out. Hydroblast. Question is, should I like Omen of the Dead here in response? So if they want to counter that, they don't get a bird either. Feels like maybe. The loop isn't going to happen forever anyway, but then if they have a way to kill the Skyfisher, it's not great. I guess we let it go. Play a Mountain and pass. 4 cards in hand. Get a Black Mage's Rod. That could be pretty good if it resolves. We're just going to combat. Swing with the Skyfisher. Kind of expect it to eat a counter removal spell now that it's making birds, or maybe like they'll cast something else like Ephemerate. Yeah. Ephemerate doesn't really do anything except for trigger birds. I do technically have Galvanic Blast plus Thraben Charm on this, but one removal spell throws that out of whack, plus Galvanic Blast is mostly lethal on them, so I'm going to just let that go. All they're doing here is chumping with the bird, so it's not the end of the world anyway. I could, like, Galvanic Blast the bird in response. It doesn't feel great. Okay, so they only have 3 cards in hand. They only have enough for, like, well, they could have 3 counterspells with, like, annuls and stuff, but I could Omen to try to bait, and then... But I feel like Black Mage's Rod coming down first is probably best because it deals more damage. Let's do that. If that gets countered, I don't know. It doesn't get countered. Okay, now I'm going to Omen, because if this gets countered, maybe we can resolve like a Galvanic Blast, which would be lethal. Plus, if we can just get back a Glint Hawk, we could Thraben Charm the Murmuring Mystic, which is something. Possible the Glint Hawk gets countered, but that's also something we got to deal with. That's fine. Oh, now there's a removal spell. Breath Weapon, because that clears everything because the Core Skyfisher took a damage. Okay, I'm going to respond, though, with damage equal to twice our creatures to the Mystic, and this is pinging them, and if they have a counterspell for this, maybe I can resolve the Galvanic Blast at them. They have another Ephemerate. I mean, they have 2 mana. It could definitely be a counterspell, but we're going to blast them anyway. 1 card. And it's not. Ooh, we won the match. That was pretty cool at the end there. Pretty close, and always a fun stack. Breath Weapon was going to be really good with the Skyfisher taking a damage already. But luckily we just had a bunch of instant speed stuff and the Black Mage's Rod. They didn't have any counterspells at the end, but they'd already gone through quite a few, I believe. Very nice grindy match. Yeah, I agree. It was a fun one. Jeskai is always a tough match for me. It's one of the decks that it was a little more popular when I first started playing like a year and a half ago, but it always just feels like they're winning. They have so many answers, so much card draw, and then eventually sometimes you still win, but it always is a match where I feel on the back foot, like no matter what. This hand is really good. 6 cards is annoying, but we get to put back a Lembas since we already have 2. Then we have Wildfire to ramp, Lembas, Skyfisher can pick up the Lembas. We have a refurb. If we get a 3rd artifact, we can, even do like a refurb Skyfisher refurb type of thing. Very good hand here. And we're on the play, so ideally there shouldn't be any interaction with this Cleansing Wildfire. More fairies. Delver of Secrets. Okay, so Terror looks like. Bridge is not bad. I could play a bunch of other things, Lembas or whatever, but I believe this is just the right play. And we'll pick up a red here. Another Wildfire, not bad. So next turn I can Bridge Lembas Familiar, probably, which can trade with this Delver. Dispel's good to know about. Swing in for 3. Of course, there's Counterspell potential. Makeshift, not the best thing in this match. Well, we'll go with... If I do Lembas and it gets countered, I can't play a Refurb, but that's the same with any other 2-drop 2. This is the one that actually lets me play a 1-drop potentially afterwards, and so we'll see. Yeah, that resolves Ancient Den. Oh, I could play Ancient Den. I could keep and play that, and then I could Skyfisher. I'm kind of expecting either one of these to get countered, so it probably doesn't matter, and I guess I don't want more lands that much. Another Wildfire. Generally, I don't hate these, especially in this matchup, because it's maybe a little slower, but the Aberration coming down right at the beginning makes the Wildfires potentially worse, just because there is the pressure. But there's no counterspell for the Refurb. Instead, a Mental Note, then a Brainstorm. And generally, they don't have a lot of ways to remove creatures from the board, except for refurb, like Demon Fury or Boomerang or something like that, which would just be more value for us. Would have been nice to dual stream on YouTube. Ads on Twitch are obnoxious. Yeah, I definitely get that. I did look a little bit into dual streaming. It might just be that I'm not very tech savvy. It seemed like kind of a pain to get going, but I understand. I'll probably keep looking into that. All right, they're still brainstorming. I think I've also been told that there's a way that I can make the ads play specifically, like in between matches or something, like at a specific time. And I just need to look into that as well. There's like a million things that once you got affiliate on Twitch, it was like, oh, you should do all of this right now. And it was like, there's so much to do. But I'm doing my best to try to make it as good experience for everyone. They discard a Demon Furier, which is fair. It doesn't work very well on our refurb. There's a Thought Scour, gets rid of a Dispel, and they brainstormed, so we can assume that's probably the same Dispel. We don't know their hand. Swing with the Aberration. I mean, I think I'll trade. I wouldn't mind replaying the refurb with the Skyfisher, but we also have the Lembas for that. There's a Terror and another Terror. Well, that's not good. Well, now we're just gonna die, because like I can double Wildfire for some good value here, which I think I have to, because the only ways I can kill these are like I mean, I could Skyfisher back a land, block, and then Lightning Bolt for 3 mana, but like any interaction just blows that out. So I don't think that seems very good. So we'll Cleansing Wildfire here. Synth could be good next turn, so I could Skyfisher, but that's just a chump blocker. I don't know. Terror is definitely a tough one for this main deck. We do have Tithing Blades on the side. I guess I'll play a Landscape. Every mana here matters with Ward and stuff. There's a Ponder. There's a cat here, by the way, being a nuisance, just in case you think I'm being weird, fidgeting. I mean, I fidget a lot, so, you just have to deal with that. Anyway, we're super dying to this Terror. We have a Black Mage's Rod. I have 7 mana, so I can play a Rod and a Skyfisher and hold up a Bolt to try to trade with one of them, I guess. That's what we do. Play a Skyfisher, pick up a Lembus. I could also have just gone with Synth for the most value. That would be the best way to like deploy as many creatures as possible. I don't know. I mean, on the off chance they don't have a single counterspell, bolting one of these guys and trading is decent. But even like I guess I don't have to do it right here. I get a damage by doing it now, but I guess on the off chance they tap lower, it's better to wait. I don't know. Pay the ward. There's a counterspell. Let's play a Synth for another Wildfire. That's what I was wanting, was the 4th Wildfire. Sure, we'll play that. Tutor up our last basic, Thraben Charm, but not enough creatures. Play a Lembus, which can't gain us enough life to survive. Could find us another creature. We get a Bolt, that's not going to do anything. Skyfisher. I think we're dead though. I could play a Skyfisher, I could double chomp. That just doesn't get us anywhere. So we do get Pyroblasts and Tithing Blades and Relics, which is good because all these bolts, this is definitely the worst matchup for them. Munitions isn't very good either. Thraben Charm is decent, so I think we just pull a bunch of those out. Omen still can be decent. Everything else is fine. So I think we will proceed like this. We have Tithing Blades to wipe their creatures, Pyroblasts, and Relics to wipe the graveyard. Any day now, Disturbed. Alright, we have no lander. Now we have a 1-lander with a bunch of Synthesizers. We do have a Tithing Blade and her 1 of Galvanic Blast. I don't think this is going to work against a counterspell deck. It's not very good regardless, but certainly not there. I guess we'll keep this one. It's not fantastic either. I mean, I think Synth is our worst card. Like, we can fetch black from this, and then we can play our other things, so I'm getting rid of that, I suppose. I'm going to play a Landscape, and I'm just going to get the Relic down right away, and hope they don't go for an early Delver. So yeah, now we can play Plains. Now I just have to sack this for black. What do you think about the 4 Landscapes in the mana base? I get the cycling is good, but it is almost like a tapped land. Also, it takes away the basics we want with Wildfires. Yeah, I mean, I think that's all true. That is all also applicable to Jund Wildfire, that it takes away their basics and stuff, but they're very effective there, I think. I do think they're worse here than they are in Jund, because we have a lot more pips and a lot cheaper cards a lot of times. So like both decks have Refurbs, which are 1 mana black spells, but we also have Glinthawk, which is a 1 mana white spell, and we have Bolts and Galvanics, which are 1 mana red spells. So that makes it a lot harder to, yeah, in that case I think it counts a little bit more as a tap land. In Jund, there are plenty of expensive and expensive creatures like Chrysalis and Nyxborn Hydra and whatnot that allow you to use the mana right away, that it's not a big deal, and then sacrifice it later, whereas here it definitely hurts a little bit more. So yeah, I think 4 is feeling like a lot in this deck. I think in Jund I like it a lot, and I think versions of this deck could be okay. But 4 is, yeah, I'm thinking 2 or 3 might be better for this one. That said, I don't think pulling from your Wildfires is that big of a concern. There will be games where it's like, oh, I've drawn 4 of my Wildfires, and I've already used 2 of my Landscapes, or I drew a basic. Most of the time, though, 6 basics is plenty. And if you're in that situation, I think you're generally okay. Oh, they bounce our Relic. That's a little annoying. So yeah, I don't really factor that in as much. But yeah, it is something to think about for sure. Do you think Swift Spear was really too powerful for Pauper, or was Kuldotha Rebirth really the main problem? I will be completely honest. I started playing Pauper right after the Swift Spear ban. I've actually only been playing for a couple years. Pauper. I've been playing Magic for freaking 15 years. So I never actually saw how oppressive Swift Spear was. However, I have played and seen Swift Spear in other formats, and I cannot imagine it was a fair card in this format. So my intuition says, if not my experience, that it probably was a very reasonable ban. I think Kuldotha was definitely a problem too. All right, we have a bit of a kind of a weird spot here because we could play a Relic. They clearly held up a counterspell for it. I could play a Lembas. I could just play nothing. I could play a Glint Hawk, pick up the Black Mage's Rod, but if anything, I want to be deploying artifacts. Anything I play that gets countered just adds to their terrors coming down. If I don't play anything, they just, do something else, though, right? They'd Mental Note or whatever. I think we're just doing a Lembas. So, yeah, I don't know. I think Kuldotha banning was pretty necessary, but red is still insane because the cards that have been printed are just crazy. Like, Kuldotha definitely was far and away the best card in that deck, but Tomb Raider is just a crazy card. Like, everyone was joking about it, but like, legitimately, how do we have Goblin Guide in Pauper? And it's like fair. I don't think Goblin Guide or Tomb Raider needs to be banned. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the quality of red cards that has been printed has just gotten absolutely crazy. Clockwork Percussionist on its face doesn't look like the most busted card ever, but it is just very, very good. So red is always going to be good because even if they ban, like now, I don't even know what the best card in mono red would be right now. I mean, Gutter Snipe is crazy in Madness. Bushwhacker's still pretty good in Red Rally. I don't think either of those need a ban, but if they did get banned, the deck would still function without it. So yeah, I don't really know what to do. Is this 3 terrors? Well, sometimes they just have the nuts, and that's not the best thing ever. We also mulliganed to, was it just 6 or was it 5? Doesn't really matter. It was a mulligan to 5. We have the Relic now, but what does it matter? We don't have the Tithing Blade. Yeah, so can't speak from experience for the Swift Spear ban, but I would be surprised if it was misguided and Kuldotha needed to go. Personally, I just say ban every single red card that exists, though. Why do we even have Murmuring Mystic? Why do we even have 5 colors, Let's just have 4. Well, I could Refurb or Glint Hawk or we're super dead. I don't know. Do you think that Swift Spear was fine? I just think from what I've seen in other formats, a hasty creature with a 2nd toughness for really no good reason that grows every time you cast a bolt in a deck that can play like 16 bolt type effects is generally pretty strong. Can't keep this 1 lander. This one's fine. More fairies. Looks like it might be Is It Fairies with the snow-covered lands for Skred. 1 top, 1 bottom. I think we're just going to Lembas to find another land. I could Black Mage's Rod, which part of me wants to because it seems pretty decent in the fairies matchups, but for these synths, we definitely need to hit land drops. I could also just bolt this, but that doesn't seem the most efficient thing to do. I was just thinking Swift Spear wouldn't be that bad without Rebirth, and I thought it was neat in other decks like Hot Dogs. I thought the play patterns around Swift Spear were good times. Yeah, I mean, they have the ninja. Oh, it could be mono blue, but also sometimes It does just run the hacker. Okay, so they might have Spell Pierce or something here, but we can get down the Sky Fisher through any, unless they have a Force Spike. Oh god, I always forget about the Force Spike. I mean, I think Hot Dogs is a little, it's kind of it's not in a great spot. It's a very all-or-nothing deck, but not having a Swift Spear definitely is tough. I don't know if it doesn't really matter to me if Swift Spear is still legal for that deck, but it just seems like Mono Red doesn't really need it. Mono Red, like red deck wins kind of a thing. And without Rebirth, it could be better for sure, but I don't know. It still just feels like a bunch of bolts and things can make it kind of crazy. Campus says, hi, I've played during the time of Swift Spear. The main problem was exactly like you said. You played on turn 1, attacked with haste, and then every following turn you just controlled the board state with bolts. Yeah. I mean, you can kind of just exactly play like a control game. Play a couple of those out, and then use just a bunch of removal and then get there. As well as cracking in with a big prowess threat. Yeah, seems pretty good to me. Well, I'm going to run out this Rod. That could get Force Spiked or Spell Pierced. I guess we play around Force Spike now. So I just bolt the Hacker. He discarded another Hacker. Yeah, we'll just bolt this, I guess. I like monocolored decks in Pauper as a general rule, but now I feel like red is leaning on Snacker or forced to play artifact sub-themes. With Swift Spear, red could play a bit more traditional red game plan. I mean, I would argue that, I don't think red is leaning on Snacker. I don't think Snacker is what's propping up Red Madness. I think Red Madness is absolutely just a big classic red strategy with mostly burn spells and pingers. Snacker's a nice addition to the deck for sure, but I don't think it's the main game plan. I would say Rakdos Madness leans on the Snacker a little bit more than the mono red version. And I mean, it's forced to play artifact sub-themes. It's not forced to, it's just Tomb Raider's a crazy card, Galvanic Blast is a crazy card. yeah, I don't know. I mean, it could play other things. It's just those are the best things to do right now. And when Swift Spear is around, Prowess was the best thing to do. But like Prowess is not necessarily like a traditional red effect either. It was just a different thing it could do. They scry 2 to the top with the Fairy Seer. They also had another Hacker. So I synth. They spell stutter. I guess I get down like a Black Mage's Rod or something. I do like monocolor decks in Pauper and just in general. Any format. Yeah, there it is. Especially Pauper. All right, I want access to white mana, so I'm going to play this and then play this, but I know if I hit a land, I'm going to regret it. I just want people to be aware that I'm aware. I think Pauper, better than any other format, actually has a cost for playing additional colors, because we do have we do, of course, have Lorien and like the Lord of the Rings land cyclers that makes it very good. I'm also going to pick this up and hope to hit a refurb, I guess, just because I already have a Lembas in hand. And we don't, but that's fine. We're getting a little bit more homogenous with like Loriens and things like that, but we're nowhere near there, especially since we still play so many tap lands. And I legitimately never want to have an untapped land, an untapped dual land in Pauper. I think that would be bad for the format. I think it is one of the formats having additional colors. Okay, mutagenic. Having additional colors should come with a cost, and this is one of the only formats where that feels like the actual case. And because of that, monocolor decks are very strong because they don't have that cost. So mono blue fairies is great because you have all untapped lands. Mono red, mono white, mono black doesn't have as many decks right now. You know, burn or Black Sack is a great one that it's come up in the last 6 months. Is nice because you just don't have to deal with tap lands. And then I guess Green Stompy is kind of missing, but you still have like elves and things like that. So like, yeah, I love having monocolor decks and having them be strong, but I don't know. It doesn't really matter to me what they're doing, like if it's as traditional for that color, I guess, as long as it's a cool deck. All right, we are dying because they've had really good draws. They had the Ninja there, they had the Mutagenic Growth for the Spell Stutter, so I could just play a Black Mage's Rod. Feels like I should just play a Synth and hope for the best, like Glint Hawk into Skyfisher or something, with ideally no counterspells on their side. Well, there's the Glint Hawk. Let's tap the proper color for that, and then let's actually have it go into that. All right, there we go. All right, that resolves too. We'll pick up a Synth. Plains. Well, I guess we'll play the Black Mage's Rod so that we can have another blocker for the ninjas. Playing around for Spike. Okay, yeah, they just snap the Spell Stutter and then they'll counter it. Fair enough. Not the best thing for us. Here are your Strix. So we're going to take 6. Yikes. Down to 4. Luckily, we put those Electrickeries in our sideboard, so that can be a nice tool. And they have another Ninja. All right, we're super dead. There's no way we're going to be able to come back from that. We do get Electrickery and Pyroblasts. We're keeping all of these. Munitions is amazing here. Omen doesn't seem great. They're going to bring in a Nulls probably anyway, not to mention they just have a lot of counterspells. Thraben Charm isn't great. Rod is okay. I guess Lembas is probably less needed than the blocker. Yeah, it seems okay. Do you think the reason Sakura Tribe Elder doesn't see any play is because Wildfire and Arbor Elf are better ways to ramp in the format? I always wondered if Green Black X value deck with Urborg Repossession Sakura Tribe Elder could be viable. Yes, I don't think Sakura Tribe Elder is the best way to ramp, so it's not seeing any play really. But that said, it did see play in the early versions of 5 and 6 land Spy, because it's not just, oh my god, this hand is all reaction, and yet I'm going to keep it. It's not just that the card is worse, but it's also where do the little details of it help other decks, right? So like Wildfire is great because it ramps and it draws you a card, but you have to be playing artifact lands, bridges specifically. So like you need a deck that wants artifact lands in other ways, so things like Refurbs and Galvanic Blasts helps. You don't necessarily have to have that. I mean, Jeskai Wildfire just plays the Wildfire package for the ramp. But like Arbor Elf, you have to play mostly forests, and then you also have to play your Wild Growths and your Utopia Sprawls. So Steve, Sakura Tribe Elder, was seeing play in the 5 and 6 land Spy decks because it fit the deck. It fit the ramp. It fit the deck with ramp in the way it wanted to, which is it wanted creatures to be ramping, and specifically like Arbor Elf is a creature that ramps. Okay, that's annoying. But it wanted to creatures that would pull out lands, right? And the reason was because they only play 5 or 6 lands, and then they want a creature so that it deals extra damage from the giant. So I don't know. Steve is it's 2 mana, right? It's a 2 mana spell, so it's gonna be worse than they just dealt damage. I expected they wanted to do this for a ninja, but I guess they just wanted the damage down. I think I'm gonna get another red here, just so we have access to more of these, and we're gonna pass. Yeah, like Arbor Elf is just cheaper, so it's better for most of the time. And Cleansing Wildfire is the same price, but it also draws you a card, so it's a 2 for 1, whereas Steve is just a 1 for 1. Okay, they have a Brine Barrow. I think I'm gonna Galvanic Blast. Electrickery, I guess this is my last. I'll use 1 Electrickery on this, I guess. I obviously want to save 1 to get like a couple of creatures, but I guess doing this now is always bad because if they have another ninja, then they get me. But I kind of expected like, yeah, Mutagenic. I guess we'll Galvanic Blast as well. Anyway, about the last part, I always wondered if a green-black X value deck with Urborg Repossession, Sakura Tribe Elder could be viable. They have a Blue Blast. I do think Urborg Repossession could probably see a little more play. It seems like a decent card. It's kind of a divination, 3 mana, draw 2, but it has a lot of utility. Getting specific cards, it gains you some life. It can also, just be a 1-drop, things like that. I don't think Steve is probably going to work very well in... I guess I don't want this. No, that's crazy. I'm going to keep it. I don't know. Steve doesn't seem like the type of card that would be great in that type of a deck to me. Because if you're in like a grindy value deck, it's just a 1 for 1. Now I realize it works with the Urborg Repossession you're talking about, so maybe it would be okay, but it still feels like you might want something giving a little bit more value. But yeah, like Repossession feels like it could be decent in like a Gardens style deck. They have another Mutagenic. Oh, they have the Brine Baron we know about, obviously. I don't know. That's just my thoughts on that. Tribe Elder was played in an old deck called Pig Trinket, running cards like Crows and Tusker, Trinket Mage, Muldrifter, Fume Spitter with the card Grim Harvest to rebuy them. Was obsessed with updating this bug value deck for quite a while. Had some 4-1 leagues with it, but it always felt like the Wellspring Dispute plan was superior when it was legal. Yeah, I'm going to be honest. Most all of those cards that you mentioned just sound very outdated. Like, Muldrifter, of course, is still great, but Trinket Mage, I mean, I've tried to make some Trinket Mage decks work. Unfortunately, they don't usually. It's just too expensive. You could still make it work, but you kind of have to jam the Trinket Mage package into like a deck that's already pretty decent. Do I want to just Pyroblast this? I kind of need to because I want to get my white source. They are down to 1 card, so like this isn't the worst thing ever. Although now if they have the Force Spike, they get me. They get me so good. Another Hydroblast. Well, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that we see the Wellspring Dispute package everywhere, and that's because most people have agreed it is the best way to draw cards in the format. Now, it's not the only way to draw cards, and it requires you to have a artifact plan and things like this, but like it's very efficient. Well, I guess now I'm just shooting this while they're tapped out. So yeah, you could play. I think the thing about Pauper, like to see that, is that generally you can kind of play whatever. It might not always be the best deck, but you can kind of make any like single card or idea work, but you have to be willing to play good cards in the current meta. So you could probably make like Urborg Repossession work, but can you make Urborg Repossession work with like those other 5 cards you mentioned? Maybe not, because then it feels like everything's a little slow. But just a couple repossessions in like a Gardens deck, or maybe tune the Gardens deck a little bit better with some different, different value creatures and things like that. I think that'd be cool. And decks like that, like, you don't have to have the best deck ever to trophy. Mediocre or bruise or whatever decks trophy all the time. I thought we were in a good spot, and now we're falling behind because they have 1 mind, and then the fact they got another ninja, and the fact we're not on white. If we finally find white, we might be in an okay spot, but right now it's looking rough. Brine Barrow again. Yeah, so one of the best things that deck did, though, was ramping into big Crypt Rats activations with Tribe Elder, casting Bone Pickers to block, then buying Crypt Rats and Bone Pickers back with Urborg Repossession. Yeah, I mean, that does sound cool, although it sounds very slow. And obviously slow decks work just fine. They picked up a ninja with this ninja, so I'm not going to bolt until this ninja's on the field. And I'm going to hope they don't have a 3rd ninja. Yeah, it sounds... They have another Mutagenic Growth. Great. It sounds slow, and also... I mean, as we kind of talked about when I did the burn deck with Crypt Rats, Bone Picker and Crypt Rats feel like very opposing cards to me. They don't necessarily feel like the cards that should be in the same type of deck. Bone Picker is very aggressive. Crypt Rats is very slow and controlling. But yeah, I think that sounds like, Gardens doesn't necessarily ramp that much, but it does just get a million lands on the field because it's able to control the game. Turbo Fog, for example, does ramp, for a big Crypt Rats with all of its heap gates and things like that. So you could, take some of these other decks that exist and do well, and then try to make a version that uses the specific couple of cards that you really want to use. They have a Steel Sabotage. I guess we're not technically dead with this Lembas, but it feels like they're playing a little bit of an older style of fairies with mutagenics, and then Force Spikes, I know, came back for a little bit, but they're doing that again. But it's absolutely wrecking us, I will say. I just looked at Bone Picker as removal on a stick, like Dead Weight, a removal spell that can be bought back with Repo. I personally don't love that way of thinking about Bone Picker, because Bone Picker isn't removal. I mean, it can trade with things. We are dead even if this resolves. It can trade, of course, and it trades nicely because it trades with terror or anything at all. But if you are playing a controlling game, generally your control decks are trying to have fewer creatures so that your opponent's removal doesn't work as effectively. And by saying, oh, well, my Bone Picker is my removal, you're actually giving their removal more weight by allowing it to actually be utilized against your Bone Pickers. And then suddenly your removal is countered by their removal. And so if they have a Tolarian Terror and you have a Bone Picker, it looks like they trade. But if they also have a cast down, they kill your Bone Picker. But if your Bone Picker instead was just a cast down, you could just kill their Terror. Now they're left with a cast down that they can't do anything with because you don't have a creature, and then they don't have a way to get through, right? So I mean, it's relevant that Bone Picker has Death Touch and all this stuff, but I don't like thinking of Death Touch creatures as like removal in that way, personally. All right, we have a lot of various stuff. We are against more blue. Oh, testing my patience with all this blue. Well, I am ready to get Spell Pierced. All right, we did not get Spell Pierced. We're looking for a land. Not looking for that. Land is decent. Terror it is. All right, I could play Rustvale Bridge, sack this landscape for black. We're pinched on black, which is annoying. I'm sacking this for black no matter what. I could just play Munitions. If it eats a counterspell, I'm kind of fine with that because it doesn't really do much in this matchup. It is a scary card in general, but like the only reason it would be scary to them is if they have a Delver of Secrets. But I'm kind of fine with it eating even just a Spell Pierce. And we haven't seen a Delver of Secrets, so it just does not seem like it's going to be very effective. They do hit 2 spells there, so that can be 1 mana terrors already. And a Serpent. Man, we're getting wrecked by terrors a lot. This is why Tithing Blade in the main deck would be good. Terror's just everywhere all the time. Oh, I need to play this first. Not to mention, I don't know, we're just going to die to more terrors, unfortunately. I will say, going back to the removal discussion, I get that with Urborg Repossession, you're going to want to have removal that is on creatures or permanents, and I think that's fair. That's like what we were talking about with Steve in a deck that cares about creatures. But I think you would want Storm here. I guess before the Brainstorm, I'm going to try to finish this guy off. I think you would want creatures that more specifically actually deal damage or like kill their guys. Like Crypt Rats obviously is a great one that does it. And I don't know what that would be off the top of my head. We don't have like a Chupacabra or anything like that in the format, but something like that would be good. Well, I guess I'll take their last card here. They didn't mention that in response, which is interesting. I can cycle this landscape high again. How is it going? Deem Inferior. Well, that is annoying, isn't it? We will put that second from the top. We're going to draw it this turn with the landscape. We are taking 11, so that's bad. How'd the previous deck do? It was okay. We went 3-2, ended on a high, winning against Dimir Fairies for the second time. I thought it was a pretty good back and forth match, but they apparently were upset about it because they rage quit and made us wait the last 7 minutes until they timed out. But we were able to get there, and now we made a couple modifications to the deck and mostly playing the same otherwise. And, it's not going great. We're 1-2 right now, which I guess you can see on the screen. All right, we're going to hope to draw like another creature with this Refurb. Lightning Bolt. This is the same, it's a different league, but it's the same deck, basically, but just a couple minor changes. I took out the Temporal Interventions from the main deck. We slotted in the Omen of the Dead and a couple more bolts, which I can't say is doing us many favors. Okay, so I guess I bolt this. I have Omen while they're tapped. Well, they don't have a counter spell for this, although I can't actually play it. And then I can trade, and I can crack a Lembas, so we go to 2, assuming they don't get another removal spell for this. Deem Inferior, lucky them. That kills us. Well, I guess they did Brainstorm, didn't they? So maybe it wasn't lucky, maybe it was just what they put back. Either way, we get Tithing Blades, Blasts, and Relics. We just played against this match, so same as last time. None of the bolts or galvanics are very good. Munitions isn't very good. And this should hopefully be a little better. But yeah, 1-2. Hoping to win this match and then, you know, make another 3-2. But things aren't looking particularly good at the moment. I think this is our second terror in this league. We've also been mulliganing pretty hard. How many, since I didn't make this deck, how many lands are we running? I assume 20. Okay, 20 is good. 20 or 21. I feel like with 20 in this type of a deck, I almost always mulligan a lot, so I generally prefer 21. But then, of course, if you play 21, you mulligan a million times, or you get flooded every game. All right, so how greedy do we want to be? Because all my cards are really good, so I really kind of want to put back a mountain. If I can get the Wildfire off, not a big deal, but they could have Spell Pierce, they could have Hydroblast, they could have a Steel Sabotage, which would be really bad. And yet, I think it's what we're doing, you know? Who needs lands anyway? Lembas. So I could Lembas. Pros and cons of it getting countered or not getting countered. If it resolves, I can get a refurb down for cheaper. Obviously, Wildfire ramps us now. Lands are overrated. I fully agree with that. It also gets countered by a null, but not Hydroblast. This gets countered by Hydroblast. I mean, I think it's got to just be the Wildfire and hope for the best. It worked. Look at that. We are a god among men. Never didn't have it. All right, and we get a Tithing Blade, which is pretty decent. Ideally, they won't lay down 3 terrors in the same turn, like some of our previous opponents have done. Glint Hawk, okay. So we're on 1 artifact, so I can't refurb. I can't Glint Hawk yet. So I could just Lembas with a Pyroblast. That's kind of boring, especially because I guess I could Glint Hawk after that. Or I could go for a Synth, but then if they try to counter it, I can't really Pyroblast. And then I get a Lembas down anyway. Let's just go for the Lembas. Yeah, this isn't exciting enough to counter. Now we'll keep a land. And it's a Vault of Whispers, so I can even play a refurb. Okay. And probably should just hold up a Pyroblast. I could Glint Hawk for the refurb, but that doesn't change too much. I don't know. Brainstorm. Played a ton of Golgari in Modern with Grim Flare back in the day. Absolutely love that deck. Green Black Gardens doesn't really have the same feel. Yeah, I get that. Can't say I'm super familiar with that Golgari list, but yeah, Grim Flare, it sounds a little bit more mid-rangey graveyard stuff as opposed to Gardens, which is just control. So I understand that. Delver of Secrets. Okay. We got a blocker for the Delver. We'd like to save the Tithing Blade for the scarier creatures. Okay, I could Synth, but we do have just a Wildfire here. I think we do that. Keep trying to ramp. They have the Spell Pierce. I could pay for it, and then we're tapped out. How bad is that? If they get, like, Mental Note, hit a couple Terrors, Tithing Blade, Pyroblast. I mean, the more mana is going to be helpful for Ward. I guess we're going to pay. They might just have another Spell Pierce, or maybe now they have, like, a Steel Sabotage, which would be pretty brutal. But yeah, they're just tapping us out. We're going to take a Plains. We get a Bridge. All right. I'm not going to attack. I'd rather trade, or at least force them to not attack. They don't flip. Sleep of the Dead. Well, that's rude. I should have attacked. Now they have a Serpent. Yeah. Not a Terror, though, so no Ward. Okay. I could just Tithing Blade, Glint Hawk, Tithing Blade. I wanted to trade my refurb or Glint Hawk for the Delver so that we could use the Tithing Blade more on just the Serpents. But that's clearly not going to happen now with the Sleep of the Dead. And we have a Pyroblast if they have a counterspell. So I think this is the play. Glint Hawk, pick up the Tithing, replay. All right, pretty nice. This is how this is supposed to play out. And they have just a Lorien revealed or a Murmuring Mystic. A Deep Analysis. Okay. I would definitely snap counter a Lorien, but draw 2 doesn't feel that bad, I guess. Plus, if they just play a Terror after, I'd like to have counterspell. Now, obviously, if we counter that, they might not have the Terror, but I think I'm fine with that exchange. Let's hope to get something good off the Synth. Cleansing Wildfire, okay. More ramping, doing us good so far. Refurb is decent. And then I can hold up Cycle the Landscape, discard a Thought Scour, attack for 4, flashback, Deep Analysis, Serpent, and a Serpent. All right. Black Mage's Rod. Ooh, double Black Mage's Rod. I think we'll just start by cracking the Synth. Red Elemental Blast. Okay, that's not bad. We get to Black Mage's Rod twice, and then just take out one of the Serpents, pinging them for a bunch, and we get to attack for 6 in the air. And then we have a million creatures. It's going to be hard for them to stop them all, I think. And they agree. All right, let's go to game 3 here. A lot of lands, but just not really a hand I want to mulligan, I don't think. There's more bridges. Lorien revealed. Top 5 cards in the format. I mean, what a crazy question. Just the best 5 cards of all time in the format? Like, I don't know. I mean, it's in Pauper right now. Yeah. No, I'm getting it. And look, they already have a full graveyard. Please don't put 3 terrors on the field. I should have played the Drawsforge Bridge probably so that I could have access to double black here for 2 refurbs. I just want to say that right now. It's just Brainstorm times 5. I mean, Brainstorm's probably up there. Can't choose Raven's Crime. That's a given. Okay. So top 4 you're saying, other than Raven's Crime. I gotcha. Ephemerate, Refurb, Krark Clan, Lightning Bolt, Cleansing Wildfire. Those are all very good cards, for sure. Spell Pierce. I mean, there's so many, like, things going through my head, like, oh, well, I feel like sideboard cards should be, you know, separate, because I think that Pyroblast might be in the top 5, if you just count any card ever. Pyroblast is insane. Obviously, Hydroblast, all the blasts are, you know, basically equivalent, but I think the ones targeting the blue spells are really good. And I mean, there's like any card that makes its way into every single sideboard that plays a certain color, I feel like has to be in the running. So like if you are a blue deck, unless you're like crazy, like maybe there's a crazy reason you don't want it, but if you're a blue deck, you basically always want a blue blast or a hydroblast. And by A, I mean like 4 to 6 of them, right? And then same with red and things like that. I mean, I think Lightning Bolt or Cast Down as removal, probably some of the best. Counterspell. Like, a lot of these just 1 for 1, but it's just so hyper efficient, right? Counterspell can get anything in the format as long as it's on the stack. Discard Sleep of the Dead, that's not great. Playing Counterspell is pretty good. Lorien Revealed, exactly. I mean, Lorien Revealed is busted. That's another one that's like, if you're playing blue, if you're a fairies deck or something, maybe not, because fairies are a lot lower to the ground. But like most of the time, if you're playing blue, you want a Lorien Revealed, right? We're going to take 5 this time. Roll Fee LOL has subscribed with Prime. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, there's almost no reason not to have Lorien. Exactly. So that feels like it's got to be in the running too. How do they still have 5 cards in hand? I guess they've only played this, cantrips, and I've only taken 1 card from their hand. But I had the classic thing of keeping a 5-lander thinking, well, we'll probably draw some spells, and then we only drew lands. Writhing Chrysalis might be in the conversation. Ill Intent also subscribed with Prime. Thank you very much. Apparently, we have a hype train going. I'm brand new to Twitch, basically, so I don't know what that means. I assume it's just because people are going crazy with stuff, and I really appreciate it. I guess I'm going to attack here because I don't really want to chump yet. Other dude reminded me I haven't been using my Prime sub. I mean, everyone's always like, you know, make sure to use your Prime sub. You know, it doesn't have to be to me. It does have to be to me. If you're here right now, your Prime sub must go to me. No exceptions. And Ben gave 100 bits. Thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate the support. I have been able to make a lot more content in the last couple of months due to having no job to spend any time on. So any money you throw my way is very appreciated. We have a Terror crashing in for 10, putting us to 10, and there's a Sleep of the Dead in the graveyard, but they're only on 3 lands, which I guess is the best part of this, but like a million cards in hand. Yeah, going back, I think that the best cards in the format have to be the cards that as soon as you're playing a color, you're like, I must be playing this card. So if you're playing black, obviously not, you know, it depends on the archetype and things. If you're playing black, like Black Sack, you don't care about Cast Down, right? But I think Cast Down is probably one of the best because in general, if you're a mid-range, a control, most decks, you're going to be playing Cast Down. So it's probably just a boring list, but Cast Down, Counterspell, Lightning Bolt. Like Galvanic Blast is more powerful than Lightning Bolt, but not in every deck, right? You can't play it in everything. Snuff Out for black, yes. Snuff Out could easily make it there. It feels like it goes in and out of whether Snuff Out is like one of the most important cards. Because if there's like a Basking Broodscale deck running around, yes, Snuff Out is the most important card in the format. But if there's not, it's still a great card. But like the only decks that really run Snuff Out main deck right now generally is like the Dimir control decks. More lands, look at that. And so it's good for the Dimir control decks, but like because red is so powerful, it's really tough to afford the 4 life sometimes, right? Might have to torture you with a green-black pile with my monthly league now. Hey, you can have me play whatever deck you want for those deck donations. You know, no, that sounds fun. I'm happy with grindy decks like that. Relic of Progenitus. We need Relic for this Sleep of the Dead. They probably have a counterspell here. And it does cycle, so it's not the worst thing ever. I appreciate your content for sure. I top 16'd with Black Sack at a Pauper 2K last month. Sideboard guide as a resource was very helpful. I am very glad to hear that. I've mostly had, well, I've basically exclusively heard positive feedback about the guide, which I really appreciate because it's, I have a lot of experience writing. I was a creative writing major in college, but I have not written anything like that before. And so I'm glad that most people seem to appreciate it. Omen of the Dead right after the Relic is very funny, I will say. And I just love to hear more people playing Black Sack, so definitely keep fighting the good fight. Yeah, Lightning Bolt, Cast Down, Brainstorm, Snuff Out could probably make it. Like I said, kind of goes in and out. And what's the last one I mentioned? We'll put Pyroblast on there. 5 best cards. There they are. You heard it here first, folks. Well, we're blocking here. Do I want to block with the Terror? Or block the Terror? I guess probably. Solid. Yeah, seems reasonable to me. But if it would be a lot like, you know, I might not stand by that the moment that I remember any other card exists. But if I broke it down into categories a little bit more, like, oh, what's the best creature? I mean, I said this earlier today. I think the best creature in the format is this guy right here. I think Refurb is the best creature in the format. And then, you know, so if I did things like that, it'd be a little easier probably. I mean, I think the best graveyard hate in the format is Thraben Charm. You know, Relic is great because it can go in any deck, but if you're playing white, Thraben Charm is a card you want in your deck. That may be crazy to take. I think Thraben Charm could also you could make a case for it being one of the best 5 cards in the format. It just goes in every single white deck, like I was saying, and it's great removal, enchantment removal, which is, you know, good against Bogles or makeshift munitions, but just nice incidentally. And then graveyard hate's so important. Refurb and Crystal is so good, make Jund tough. Yes, they certainly do. I just have this Black Mage's Rod. I almost just want to cycle this first. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying Chrysalis is not a good card, but I think Refurb's even better. But after that, Chrysalis might be the second best, or, you know, it's up there for sure. I guess, I don't know. I guess we'll just play this and hope there's no counter spells. Then I can play a Lembas, ping for 1. Holy cow, I just saw Blue Terror is 16% of the format. Where do you see that? I know that it's high. I think the highest I saw was like 11 or 12, but it is crazy. I mean, we played against it a couple times today. I haven't played a league in a couple of weeks without a Terror, it feels like, but it's a crazy good deck. Tolarian Terror, stupid good too. I agree. Demon Inferior. Well, do we want this token on the top or the bottom? Tough choice. MTG top 8. Accursed Marauder stocks. True. Accursed Marauder. I mean, this is why I like Tithing Blade and Accursed Marauder and Extracted Confession. I think Extracted Confession is not seeing enough play. Come on, give me something good. That was not something good. I can crack this Lembas, and hopefully we draw like a Synth into a Glinthawk, into a Tithing Blade. They don't have any counter spells, and we can get this guy off the board, and then we can stabilize. But looking rough right now. Yeah, I think Tolarian Terror is definitely in the top 5 or 10 best creatures. The reason I wouldn't necessarily put it like number 1 or 2 or something is because you have to build an entire deck around it. That's not 100% true, because like this is a Terror deck, but like Is It Control plays them as the finishers, but it's not like filling the graveyard with Thought Scours and things like that. But it's still a deck that needs to have 30 or 35 spells, so the whole deck has to meld around it. Refurb, you do need to build for it a little bit, of course, but you can pretty much just get away with some artifact lands, 15 artifact lands, and you can play it, and you don't even need to play it that many other artifacts. It just slots into a lot of decks. Thraben Charm, look how good this card is. It could exile their graveyard, or it could deal 0 damage to this guy. We're dead. We got 1 match left, though. We can maybe get a 2-3 out of this. Cornered by Black Mages, even seeing some play. Yeah, I like the look of Cornered by Black Mages. I think we've gotten so, like, at this point in Pauper, an edict that doesn't have additional text to make sure, like, what you're hitting with it is kind of tough. Accursed Marauder is non-token, which is really key. Extracted Confession, I think, is the best edict in a vacuum, but obviously Marauder's really good in Black Sack. Extracted Confession is just great. Like, I like to run one of it main deck in like my Dimir Fairies deck, and then sideboard as well. Tithing Blade has gotten a lot worse since it doesn't have any text like that, but you're generally playing a Tithing Blade in a deck that has like Glinthawks or something, so you can rebuy it. So yeah, it doesn't maybe kill the best thing you want the first time, but maybe the second or the third time it does, and so it gets really good there. And Cornered by Black Mages doesn't have that text. It's also 3 mana, but the wizard you get is pretty effective for sure in the right deck. Kind of sad that goblins aren't playable in Pauper, especially not after Kuldotha ban. Yeah, I know after Kuldotha was banned, all the mono red players fractured, and there were like 5 different red decks running around, which ended up turning into mostly just Red Rally and Madness. But there was also like Pinger Burn with, you know, Thermo Alchemist and things like that. And there was Goblins for a little bit again. But yeah, Goblins is just a bad Rally deck, unfortunately, or bad Kuldotha deck. All right, let's finish out this round here. Well, 4 lands is good. We have Synth and a Glinthawk. I would love to play against a not blue deck, just because I'd like some of my spells to resolve once. No. Please. Alright, well, we're gonna refurb and deep analysis, cycle and ash barrens. Does that mean... No, snowlands would be necessary for Tireless Tribe. What's the ash barrens mean? They got a discarded end step. Is Diabolic Edict still the only instant edict? That is a good question. Is it? I mean, Geth's Verdict is also instant speed and has been around. But for that mana cost of 1 and a black, I think probably. Oh, they discard an Ephemerate. Oh, okay, this is probably Familiars then, right? Ash Barrens is in Familiars, Ephemerate. That would make sense. Okay, so against Familiars, I could just Synth, but I lose any red spell here. But I do kind of want to go aggro. I could just Glinthawk the Refurb, but we lose value on not getting the Synth down. I'm going to get a little greedy and play a Synth here. We had a Landscape. All right, we'll just pass. Yeah, I think it probably is the only edict for 1 and a black. There we go. All right. I was able to figure out the deck for... We saw the Familiar. Crack this for a red. No, maybe it should have been white, because then I could Glinthawk and pick this up and still have a white source. Oh, yeah. I was thinking, oh, if I replay the Synth, I want the red, but it should have been the other way. Oops. Man, Tempest was a good set. Yeah. I can't say I was playing around when it came out, so I don't necessarily remember everything in Tempest, but definitely some good cards. I mean, I guess we'll Glinthawk. Yeah, we kind of waste any white spell here. They could also just like Prohibit. We don't have any bolts though. We have 8 in the deck. Currently not seeing any though. There's a Galvanic. All right, well, we'll make him use a spell, a counter spell for this. They snap the Familiar. I'm pretty glad they didn't snap our Refurb, because if they had, this wouldn't actually kill their guy, which they did not notice, and we got away with. I did notice that our Metalcraft count was low, but we obviously were going to use the Galvanic regardless. Okay. Them not having a Godfarer's Faithful is really nice, because then our damage currently feels like it actually matters. Devour Flesh, yeah. There's another one. Makes them gain life, though, or you if you sack the thing. But yes, that is definitely another one that exists. They don't currently have anything to Cleansing Wildfire, so we'll just try to ramp with it. Pull out another white source. Black Mage's Rod. I guess getting that down is probably better than just getting a tap land, right? Then I can maybe equip it to one of these to get extra damage in. But I didn't kill their Familiar, so they could do some scary stuff here, but I can't really do anything about it, unfortunately. Thinking about what they want to do here. I mean, this deck's really complicated, so I'm not surprised that they're taking a bit. Another Familiar is pretty good. Snap our hero token. Yeah, it's kind of maybe a reason not to have put that down, is that they got a really good snap target. Geth's Verdict is a card too, but it's double black. Yep, it's that without the life gain. Yeah. Imagine playing Familiars all day. Yeah. Hey, I mean, some people like it. Can't say it's my favorite deck. To be honest, when I mean, in general, it doesn't interest me that much, but if it didn't have the mostly combo finish, and it was more just a control deck, I'd probably be more interested in playing it. But generally, it ends up as a combo deck. So, for example, Ephemerate Archaeomancer, then they could snap something else. I don't know. Ephemerate's in exile, so I need like removal. Snap our guy. Untap. Snap again. No. Modern Age. Bin of Familiar. They only have 1 card in hand, and we get the Galvanic. It could be a counterspell, but attack for 2. Okay, we get to start with the Glinthawk, pick up the Synth, Thraben Charm, so that can shoot the Archaeomancer, and if they have a counterspell or something, then I have a Galvanic Blast for it. Since they have an Ephemerate going, don't really want to play that. Do I just take out another Familiar? Probably, right? I guess if they get another Archaeomancer, it's pretty bad. Yeah, I guess we wait. Like an Ephemerate and a Familiar doesn't really do anything, but it puts the Ephemerate in the yard, which is where they want it. And Lorien Revealed. Well, that's a good one. For 3 mana. Jeez, that's crazy. And there's the Archaeomancer with white up for the Ephemerate, which I guess since they've already tapped for it, I'd probably just let them have it, and then they go for it, and then I can Galvanic. Okay. Oh, wait. They would have just been tapped out, and I could have just Galvanic'd them. Well, we get another one, so even though I probably could have just killed them there, I am not punished. And let's win the game this way. Interesting. All right, we once again get Pyroblasts. Relics are good again, as are Interventions. Munitions is kind of expensive to do what we need it to do. Limbus doesn't seem as necessary. Black Mage's Rod can be good to kind of offset their life gain a little bit, but I feel like there's no way we're going to be able to catch up to theirs. So, and they get blocked on the ground pretty easily. They're not going to kill our creatures much. They could counter some of them, but it feels like Omen of the Dead isn't super relevant here. So I think we just try like that. And the old 1-lander, 5 red spells. Well, we have some good interaction, but we do have these landscapes that we were talking about being a little too much. I guess we get rid of Glinthawk and then we keep the relic because, like, yeah, I guess we're the control player now. Here's a landscape, modern age. I was lazy and sacrificed right there. Technically, maybe this informs what they want to discard, but seems unlikely. Well, I guess we're gonna play this, and I'm gonna relic away their deep analysis. Kind of nice we kept that then. And just hold these up, get rid of an island, then they ponder. Azorius Chancery. I would love to find a Cleansing Wildfire for that. Dross Forge Bridge. Alright, well, we'll hold up our interaction. Dust to Dust. That's so rude. I can't Pyroblast that. Well, I guess I'll exile the graveyards and then get black out of this since I have white over here. Just what happened to common courtesy? Like not blowing up your opponent's lands. Everyone's a Ponza player at heart. It's despicable. Alright, I will take 2. I'm not really too worried about this Vector Glider at the moment. If they play, yeah, I'm going to counter that. Please don't draw cards. I'm asking nicely. Here's a refurb. And I probably should just hold up a Lightning Bolt in case they go for like a Muldrifter or Ephemerate or something. What percentage of artifacts that Dust to Dust destroys are lands? I'm guessing at least 80%. Yes, I would bet so. Generally in the first 4 or 5 turns, it's always right to just blow up the lands. After that, it gets a little hazy. Well, they could just have a counterspell for this, but we're gonna try it. Ooh, and they don't. Glinthawk off the top. Very nice. Yeah, I'll return Synth. I maybe should have just done this after I attacked, and then I could do another Synth. Well, we are tapping out of Bolt to do this. Yeah, Dust to Dust is good to hit lands mostly in the early game, and then after that it's like, oh, it still just destroys 2 Mirror Enforcers or 2 Refurbs or whatever, but it's very good. There's a Blast, and that is a waste, but still a decent turn, and they didn't do anything, which is great for us. Once saw a guy run 3 Dust to Dusts to an opponent. What a jerk that guy. Yeah, that's pretty freaking rude. I wonder who that was. Sweating. I would never. It looks like they're just flooded, which is pretty good for us. Look, this Vector Glider's been attacking us all day, and we still have a bunch of life. We also just have 10 damage in hand, so we can just kill him next turn, probably. Let's Glinthawk. Feels nice to exile their creatures when they have a Blood Fountain in play, though. Oh, yeah. No, it's really nice to do that. Or, you know, exile the Blood Fountain if they only have, like, 1 creature or something. Okay, well, Black Mage's Rod just makes it so we can deal even more damage to them. Oh, they have a negate for that. Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, against Affinity, Dust to Dust just is like exile 2 target permanents, which is crazy. And, you know, against Jund or whatever, it's still really good because it gets rid of their... Ooh. Gets rid of their... Lost my train of thought from this Murmuring Mystic. Gets rid of their lands early so they can't Cleansing Wildfire. It also gets rid of Refurbs, Blood Fountains, maybe even a Wellspring or whatever. I probably should have done this before they had mana, or rather before they had a Murmuring Mystic, if I want to bolt this Glider, which I do because I want to get through with these guys. But now if they have like an Ephemerate or a Prohibit or a Negate, then they get a bird. So that was a bit of a mistake. One of many. Or a Snap, fair enough. But I know that they have no other cards, so I could just take out this Mystic, which is... It's pretty scary, so I probably should. This is 7 damage that can go at them. How greedy am I? Because I could get in for 4. They go to 10. I bolted that because I needed to get in with these guys. I kind of want to play a Synth here, too. And then I guess if I turn up anything that's white or red, I'm not going to kill this Mystic this turn. I think that's fine, maybe? Oh, perfect. How absolutely fantastic for us. I mean, every time I ask how greedy am I know the answer is, you know, extremely. But still got to ask. All right. Well, now we get to Core Skyfisher... Refurb, take their Modern Age, and they have 1 draw, and we have 7 damage in hand and a bunch of 2/2 flyers, or 2 power flyers rather. There's a Preordain off the top. What a top deck. It's crazy. Murm is such a terrifying card. Yes. I was talking to people at locals the other day. I think, you know, we were also talking about the best creatures and things like that. I think Murmuring Mystic is the scariest creature to hit the field. Like, obviously there are, you know, aside from like combo pieces, right? A Balustrade Spy just wins you the game or whatever. But a card that doesn't instantly win you the game, they pick up a Negate. Okay. A card that doesn't instantly win you the game, Murmuring Mystic, it's like every turn it survives is just really bad for us. And yeah, if you don't deal with it almost immediately, you're done. Exactly. Very few games go on longer than a couple more turns after that hits the field if it's not dead. We get to attack with everything here. Block, block. We hit for 4. They have a negate for one of these, but I just have 11 damage in hand. So I would like to end the game. All right. Well, we got a 2-3 with the deck, and we got a 3-2 before that, so 5-5 on the day. Not the worst, not necessarily the best. Overall, I like the deck. It's very fun. For me, if I'm going to be wanting a 3-color Glint Hawk, Corskit, Gaia Fisher pile, I'm probably going to be sticking with Esper. You do get some nice, removal with these. Synth is great, cheaper, but I do like the cards going to hand. Everything I'm going to say about the deck is that it's just inferior to Esper. That's what you should be playing instead. But no, the deck's pretty cool. Always a big fan. Does feel like maybe we need to go down a landscape or two, but of course, then when we get flooded, we drew so many landscapes and they're actually really good. So, Angelic Renewal with Muldrifter and Murmuring Mystic. Yeah, I mean, Renewal doesn't specifically synergize with Murmuring Mystic, except for the fact that if they kill it, it comes right back, which is kind of crazy. You might be onto something. Angelic Renewal is gonna show up eventually. I need time to get inspired, I suppose. Well, that is going to do it for me today for the stream. Thank you everybody for hanging out and for the subs and whatnot. We have 13 people watching. I guess I'm supposed to raid somebody else because I definitely know what I'm doing. The problem is nobody else plays Pauper. I can raid some random person, but do you really want to watch standard or modern, some inferior format? Who knows? Ew. I mean, there's some Canadian Highlander being played. That's a pretty good format, Sure. Well, thank you everybody for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you all next time.